Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. A little bit earlier, would you believe? I've probably jinxed it now. So here we are. Everybody has been very anxious to get to this bit, so we're kind of at the chapter, I believe, where Lorne writes.
Oh shit!
There's the customary echo, but at least we've established it early on anyway. Thanks for joining us, guys. Anyway, it's all right. Don't worry about it. So, thanks for joining us, guys. Anyway, I was thinking about this, right? So, we have this book about a military scenario here. A guy was in the services, written by a guy that went in some kind of services but couldn't hack it. So he's writing about something that he knows nothing about. It's kind of insulting to the people that are actually in the service. We've had a few comments in the last few weeks stating as much. I've not served in the military, but I can imagine people that have, watching Lorne, think he understands it, can be, I would imagine, is disrespectful. Not only that, this is a guy who's in prison for sex offence crimes against children. He's writing a sex scene in a book about the military, and there's a sex scene in it. I find all of that fucking unbelievable. It's like, there's only this guy in the world that would have the audacity, I like that word, the audacity to do this. It's a remarkable thing. Are we at the actual halfway point now of this book?
I don't have a physical copy of one.
Yeah, but no, I mean, what I mean is chapter 6. We're on chapter 7, so we've actually, this is exactly halfway, isn't it?
Well, as far as chapters go, but I'm not sure how many pages there are.
Oh, yeah, I just meant sort of chapter-wise. You know, we're splitting it up into chapters, so it's kind of a good point to take stock. We can't really delve into what's happened previously too much now because, well, we haven't got time. This chapter's pretty monstrous, I think. So that's why we started a little bit earlier, just to try and get, to get it done, basically. But yeah, it's been interesting, guys, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed going through it so far?
Definitely. Of course, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I like to see Lorne's his outlook on relationships. I think that's the most interesting part for me. And we're going to get to some of that in this chapter, which makes it very, very interesting. It gives you, I think, a really good look inside his mind and how he thinks people work and how they think and sort of this ideal life that he wants, including with his mother. I think I'm most interested in the dynamic between Aaron and his mother because it's so over the top and so cheesy and disgusting and sort of unrealistic. This woman just lives for her son, nothing else. He doesn't even bother trying to paint her as anything other than two-dimensional, just to be there for
Hang on a minute, Amanda James. I think you're being very unfair here. Do you not think saying something like...
do.
Are you not... Let me finish. Are you not saying that saying something like "thank you for being born" isn't three-dimensional?
Well, I guess, and it's just such a shallow and lazy thing to say. She could have thanked him for anything.
I fucking love hearing you rip into Lorne. It's a fucking joy.
I know. I love it. It's also misplaced because if somebody's going to thank anybody for being born, you would think you'd thank your mother for giving birth to you or something. It's
even
just
that would be like,
yeah, that's
far,
what I'm saying.
wouldn't it?
But if you're going to make it a little less cringy and less narcissistic, you do it that way. But it's just like everything evolves around Aaron, and the great thing in terms of the author, you know, he's got, as we talked about this so many times, he's got no experiences, but he's putting together a composite of what he thinks he would be like if he was able to have relationships and all this other stuff. And there's no trial and error in his experiences, so he doesn't know, you know, stupid, you know. But, you know, this is the best he can come up with to be the best person, he can be.
Do you know something that we haven't actually touched upon much? I don't think when we did like the introduction, how stupid the title is. We might have touched upon it, but he wasn't taken abroad, was he? He fucking volunteered. What so the title of the book makes no sense. So already you're struggling.
Yeah, but I always assume that has to do with his incarceration. In a sense, he's kind of leaking out what happened to the author and putting it in a different scenario. And you're right in terms of this actual specific a story per se. There's nothing to do with being taken against your will. But in real life, this author was taken against his will. So he's got that little anger that keeps seeping out, a little passive aggression in him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there. And what you were saying, Amanda James, about... Actually, Amanda James, you may... I don't know whether this is a fair comment. You may have listened to more of the Lorne calls than any of us. And considering... Is there anything, has this book given you any insights that you didn't have from hours and hours and hours of the catfishing calls? Because I find it interesting that you say we can understand more about how he thinks, how he views the world, but we've got hundreds of hours of material, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't know if I've learned anything new necessarily, but it just confirms all the things that we do see in the call.
Confirmation bias right there.
Yeah, well, it's fun to point them out, and it's fun to draw parallels to things that he's said in the phone calls, his worship of his mother, or his he wants everyone to believe that he worships his mother. He thinks that's a real virtue. And that makes him more attractive. So seeing him spend so much time on the relationship with Aaron and his mother in this book, when there are so many other important things that he could focus on, but instead he focuses on the ridiculous dialogue between him and his mother, and he tries to make it playful and cute, which I find disgusting. And you can hear him do that in real life too. When he's talking to his mom, he flirts with her. Yeah. Do you want some of this knuckle sandwich? And he tries to be all cute and funny.
Oh, fucking brilliant!
What about when he gets sexual with her? That's even way creepier. He doesn't do that in the book, interestingly enough.
I don't want to fucking know about that.
Well, it's not. He's not hitting on his mother. He's talking about things you would never talk about with your mother. Oh, Mom, keep the door locked, or somebody's going to come in and rape you, shit like that. But yeah.
Sorry, go on, Dave.
I was going to say, in Aaron's relationship with his mother in the book, every time they part company, they kiss or hug. I'm going to the store. Okay, get it over here, Mama Gwen. Get it over here. They got to kiss before they leave. It's so close and mushy and weird.
I think he does that to his mother in real life too. I remember one time he was with her and he was going to leave and she said, "You already gave me a kiss." He was trying to go in for another one, I guess.
Get that wobble tooth out of here.
Well, she doesn't want to smell that twice.
Exactly.
He just craves this connection with women. That's what I think it is. He wants some sort of special connection with a woman so badly.
I find it ironic as well that he mentions his relationship with his mother that has been central, core to the book, really. When his relationship with his mum is flimsy at best. It's like there's no real give and take with his mother.
Well, there's no upside for her.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's all him taking. It's all his selfish needs. There's no, it's one of us guys mentioned it. I think it was you, Tiffany, that said a few weeks ago, or it might have been you, Shin, but the point is, when the parents get older, the tables are turned, and you look after them. But he doesn't even do that. She's still looking after him, but yet he portrays this mother-son relationship as being virtuous. When it's so, the themes that run through the book that he's trying to convey, he has no... he doesn't display any of them in his life. So the military thing, he failed. He's writing about romantic love. We don't even need to mention the irony in that. And he's talking about his relationship with his mother, which from his perspective is a farce. So it's like this guy. It's just, you just can't get your head around it, can you? The hypocrisy is unbelievable.
Well, it all has to do with what he says. So the book is a perfect representation of that. And it's also shown in the phone calls where he's speaking about the relationship with his mother. He's also speaking about a relationship here. And he doesn't actually do those things. Even his feelings toward his mother can't be the same as what he says. There's no way that you're going to speak about your mother about being close to being perfect and she's as sweet as she can possibly be. Those aren't things that people will typically say. I mean, your mother is still a person, and there's going to be some that are terrible. There's going to be some that are really great. But I think aside from the obvious correlation between, Lorne's life and what he's writing in this book, he also is making Aaron out to be someone who lost it and did something that he wouldn't normally do. And I think that's a really interesting connection. Aaron was a normal person, seemingly, even though he was weird, as we pointed out before.
In Lorne's world.
In Lorne's world, yeah, he was just a normal guy in school. He goes off to the military, sees some things, and has a mental breakdown. And if you hear Lorne talk about his real life, it's pretty much the same. He was an innocent person who was surrounded by terrible people who took advantage of him. He ended up having a mental breakdown. He ran away and he did something that he wouldn't normally do. That turned him into a monster, just like the whole military experience turned Aaron into a monster.
Things happen to him.
Yeah, it's
Exactly,
a really
things happen to
interesting
him.
it's a brilliant observation, that, Tiffany, for once.
Well, thank you.
I kind of just, because I think you're exactly right. He's writing subconsciously about that. I don't think he's doing it consciously, but I think that the military, the reason he's chosen this and someone being exposed, because it's the most extreme example he can think of. So someone sees a child explode. It's probably the worst thing that you could see as a human being.
Especially when it's only the child and nothing around it, just the children.
Yeah. So in Lorne's reality, those things, the mac and cheese and the meatballs, are hilarious. But from his perspective, they're the worst things that could have happened to him. Or at least that's what he likes to believe. He wants to believe that, doesn't it? And then he doesn't have to deal with the reality that he's a shit person, which, as we know, is Lorne's MO. That's why he's like he is, and why doing these kind of videos is kind of guilt free in a lot of ways, because it's like, at least.
Yeah, we talked about this before. It doesn't seem that his life's crises or tragedies or anything like that really amount to too much. And I remember, like I said, we discussed this when he put out that video about the mac and cheese. I was thinking he was about to explain what went wrong, and I thought, oh my God, this is way back when, before I really knew who he was. He's going to explain, and then he starts talking about mac and cheese, and I'm thinking, is that the worst thing that ever happened to you? Well, that's the worst thing you could think of. That was probably based in some reality, but for the most part, he's lived a charmed life. If that's the worst thing that ever happened.
He's led a sheltered life is probably the best way of putting it.
That's more like, well, yeah, charmed from real tragedy.
Yeah, but you're right. It's just we know what you're getting at. Of course, you're right. That's what made it so funny, because we were waiting for this amazing revelation that's going to explain why he's like he is. And it's like he talks about mac and cheese, and this is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
And then at the end, he made it seem like, I bet you guys are, feel like shit now, huh? It's like that kind of attitude. Like, now you understand. So, like Tiffany says, this is who he is. This is the worst he can think of. and he doesn't have much in terms of what to feel sorry for, and everything happens to him. And his conduct is never under scrutiny. He never reevaluates what he does. None. And I think you're right. I think it's from being sheltered. Nobody's ever called him on shit. They probably just gave the whiny little bastard everything he wanted.
If you don't take responsibility for anything, you're always going to live a sheltered life, because there's going to be no growth. If there's going to be no growth, you're never going to put yourself in new situations. You're never going to have any ambition. So it's obvious, isn't it? But he can't. I think that's why the number one reason why we're fascinated with Lorne is yes, people generally don't take a lot of responsibility for their lives to some degree. Lorne takes zero.
Uber. Yes. This is superhuman.
Yeah, exactly. It's beyond the realms of anything that you could imagine, like the lengths that he will go to. I thought I was going to start saying R.E.M. then. The lengths that he will go to absolve responsibility is amazing. We're going to have to, unless anybody's got anything else quick to say before we get cracking.
No, let's get started.
Yeah. Now, Tiffany, as a chief reader, probably our only reader now, because you do have a certain eloquence and grace at reading this, which is quite remarkable considering the subject matter.
She makes it digestible. Definitely.
Well, let's not.
Well,
what I will say before we get started, and we do have to mention this considering we're halfway through the chapters, is this is all Shin Koala's bloody doing, because he wouldn't do his own review. So here we are on video number 7. So
could have been 1 if Shin would have.
Yes,
I just found a better way. I didn't try to avoid anything.
All right.
The dog agrees.
He agrees.
Chapter 7.
Okay, where do we leave off, real quick, Tiffany? I mean, what's going on with him?
Well, he went over to his sister's house.
The shit.
So he met with his sister. Yeah, right, with the baby with no diaper for several hours, apparently.
Ned will love that.
You mean the sister that we didn't know existed?
Right, that wasn't at his party, because this was the first time that she met him or had seen him.
Don't forget.
And they were playing pass.
He also went to visit his little brother, and we got absolute jack shit about that member of the family.
Yeah. And don't forget the playing pass with baseball out in the front yard. They were like running wide receiver routes with a baseball.
Right.
And more ham for dinner.
Every year.
All right, everyone got their pants off, because this is gonna get sexy.
I sure do.
Okay.
I'm sitting here just in my underwear. Carry on.
All right, chapter 7. It was almost 9:30 p.m. when Aaron walked in the door and found his mother sitting on the couch watching TV and enjoying a bowl of popcorn and a cup of tea. "Hi, Mom. I didn't know if you'd still be awake or not," Aaron spoke as he moved to the kitchen sink for a glass of water. "Yep, but not for much longer. Did you have a good time over at Kelly's?" she asked. "Yes, I did. The baby's cute," he answered. "Brooke called while you were gone," his mother informed him with a broad smile. Aaron looked at his mother surprisingly. "What did she say?" "She said she just called to talk so you two could get to know each other better. She said you can call her back tomorrow night if you want to." "She sounded nice," his mother said to encourage him to call her back. "She's very nice," Aaron emphasized the words when he spoke them.
What the fuck? Wait a minute. She said she called to tell his mother that she wanted to talk to her son so she can get to know him better.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit odd.
And she's eating popcorn and tea.
Mom and Brooke. A little chat on the phone. That's totally normal.
Everybody's doing Aaron's work.
Did Amanda James just stick up for Lorne's literature?
Absolutely not.
No, she was definitely saying it was stupid.
Mm-hmm. It's very stupid.
She doesn't date pedos. Sorry, I just read up.
No reading ahead, you. Stop cheating.
No, I read a comment that was pretty funny.
Oh, sorry.
I want to get up early and go surprise Brady. Don't worry about making any breakfast for me. I'll grab something at McDonald's. Good night. He kissed his mother on the cheek and found his way down the dimly lit hallway to his bedroom and retired to bed. After taking a quick wake-up shower the next morning, he drove over to surprise his little brother. He stayed for a few hours visiting and catching up on things with him, then went back home. He didn't have any plans for the rest of the day, so he decided to clean the house for his mother. She was happy to see a clean house when she got home from work, so she could just sit down and relax for a change.
Fucking hell.
Around 7 o'clock.
Sorry. What's a quick wake-up shower? Anybody know? Is it, soap?
About 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Around 7 o'clock, after eating dinner, Aaron called Brooke and they talked on the phone for about 2 hours. He was amazed that the more he talked to her, the more he liked her. Most girls have scared him off by calling him, but she was different. Or maybe it was him who was a different person from the person he used to be.
That makes
He
no
played
sense.
with that. He played with that thought, then tossed it aside
I'm sure
after
he fucking
realizing
did.
it didn't really matter. He liked Brooke a lot, and that's what he cared about.
That doesn't make any... A lot of that is really poor writing. Or maybe it was him who was a different person from the person he used to be. That sentence is fucking stupid. He liked Brooke a lot, and that's what he cared about. He cared about what? Her? Or the fact that he likes her?
That he liked her.
Well, my favorite Lorne line right here is most girls have scared him off by calling him if he was different. We kind of talked about this offline a little bit. From what we know about Aaron, he's never had a girlfriend, at least one has never been mentioned. He was a geek in high school and went to the military, and there was no mention of women or anything like that. And Brooke appears to be his first girlfriend, I guess.
Well, they all
again,
scared him because they were calling him. So
The impression I get is that like he was never really interested in girls before. He had all these girls calling him and trying to get with him because he is such a
catch, isn't he?
Yeah, he's such an attractive and ambitious young man, but he didn't really care for any of them like he cares about Brooke.
It's like his one night stands.
She's special.
They wanted to be with me, but I didn't want to be with them.
Right. They wanted more than a one night stand, but he said, "No way. You are not tying this player down."
And then the time he tells Tiffany that he is afraid now to let people get close to him, as opposed to the other way around.
Right.
People don't want to be near him.
Yeah.
All this fantasy wrapped up in that sentence.
I think one of the most Lorne sentences here is maybe it was him who was a different person from the person he used to be, because he's always referencing that. I never used to do. I never used to be. And so I think it ties into the idea that Aaron was this person before. And even though I'll not minding if a girl calls you and not being scared when they do isn't a bad thing that came out of growing up, but it's almost like he's surprised that he matured a little bit because Lorne himself has never matured.
Never.
Yeah. Well, that line is definitely Lorne. That is him attractive signaling.
Right. Okay. The week went by fast, and before Aaron knew it, it was Saturday. He remained nervous all day about his date with Brooke. But once he had picked her up and they had started talking, Aaron never even thought about his nerves and was completely comfortable around Brooke all night. He felt better when she mentioned how comfortable he made her feel also. They had gone roller skating at Roller King's skating rink, and Aaron had a great time, especially when Brooke held his hand on the couple's turn only and pretended to slip and fall so she could get close to Aaron.
Jesus.
This is so
fucking
It's so cheesy.
She's
like
pretending
Rocky.
to be
It's like the Rocky movie.
idiot to get close to him.
Yeah, it is like the Rocky movie, isn't it?
When
In
Adrian and Rocky were in the
they were in the ice rink,
He
weren't
loves
they?
those movies.
Yeah, he paid the guy $15 or something, but Adrian wasn't trying to slip on purpose to be close to her. She just was a klutz.
Well, Adrian was a ridiculously shy character who never said anything, but I think he's imagining that scene. That was a great comparison to make.
Yeah,
Dude.
I'm wondering if Aaron in this case is not wearing skates and he's just on shoes like Rocky was on the.
Yeah.
He wasn't in skates either. Yeah. But
She
anyway.
nearly knocked him over too. But with the help of the railing being there, he was able to recover himself quickly, even with Brooks' added gigantic weight against him.
How does he define?
I'm just kidding. He didn't say
He's
gigantic.
so specific.
Oh, that's brilliant.
She's a little overweight. I mean, that's going to be a really big deal if he has to hold her up.
Right.
When was
Overweight.
But he describes the weight and leverage. You know, it's fucking.
right?
It's like he's going through it in his mind as he's writing it. What would a girl feel like if she?
When the last song played, it was for couples only, and Brooks skated backwards, with Aaron skating with a little more confidence than he had when the night had started. He slowed them both purposefully and backed her up against the wall and gave her their first kiss. She welcomed it with her eyes closed, and the heat between them grew. She drew back and pushed him slowly backward, and then led them both over to the bench, smiling broadly all the way.
Right, let's just take stock a minute about this paragraph here, because there's a lot to say. My first observation is, like the rest of the book, he sets the scene with trying to be too late. So he's establishing the relationship between them in one fucking paragraph without any dialogue and some cheesy fucking scenes that they're even worse from Attack of the Clones. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Does anyone envision, in their mind's eye, as you're picturing this, Lorne doing this? It's just hilarious to me. I just all I picture is Lorne moving in for the kiss.
Oh God!
I'm trying not to.
Well, it's funny.
That's
like
what I picture.
Like Drive said, roller skating like back in the 80s. No, if a guy, AJ, was like, "Hey, you want to go roller skating?" You'd be like, "No." Like for a date?
No, I want to
date,
go.
though? That'd be
a happy
so
hour or
weird.
something.
Yeah, it would be really, really bizarre.
You're right. I think he is thinking back to when he was that age, and that's the kind of stuff they would do, is go roller skating. Especially growing up in a place like Lorne grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what town it was, but it was some rural. I don't know. Where did he say he grew up? Canaan, maybe.
Yeah, it was the same area in general.
Mm-hmm.
Somerset
Cambridge.
County.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
So there probably wasn't a ton to do. But you know that picture? He shared a picture of himself. Maybe it was a senior picture. It was from high school. And that's how I envision Aaron, is Lorne when he was in high school. Do you guys know what picture I'm talking about?
The one where he has his hand weirdly
the silk shirt
on his
yes,
face.
yes. And his hair is like parted down the middle, I think, and it's kind of
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different one. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but it would just be so weird. I remember going roller skating, but I was also 10. I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
just like
think
he's
I did.
picking all the cliche date things to do, because I don't
He
think he
is.
knows.
No, he
You know?
doesn't. He has no idea. I'm surprised they
wanna
didn't go to the
hang?
karaoke bar.
Oh, that'd have been too
That
much.
would be funny.
like that's like more of to go to a bar and have a drink. But instead they go to the movies. They go roller skating. What else did they do? They go out to
They
dinner.
went dancing.
They went
They went
dancing.
But he doesn't dance. He
Yeah.
said he doesn't dance. He only
Yeah.
does slow dances. So why did you take her dancing? You just stand
And what does
there
that
and watch
mean?
her?
Is there like dance clubs or something that is like big? You know,
I don't know.
lounges is one thing where they have a little dance floor or something. I don't know. I'd like to know what kind of venue he thinks dancing happens at. Studio 54, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like a disco.
Yeah.
But the whole point of a novel or even a movie is that you find out about characters through their dialogue and situations. He's just explaining it. It's like a bizarre short story, isn't it? It's just really odd.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, he's also describing how strong Aaron is, because when Brooke pretended to fall and he had to catch her, remember she's slightly overweight. It was
Right.
a lot lot of weight.
A lot
there.
of pressure. Yeah. But then she can skate backwards as well. So no problem. Just at that moment, she didn't know what she was doing.
And he backs her up against the wall. Probably couldn't
Right.
put the brakes on. Hits her head up against the glass.
Right. Once Aaron got his skates off, he stood and stumbled to the pole to catch himself after taking his first step. The hours of having the wheels attached to his feet had thrown his equilibrium off, and the fumbling had made him feel embarrassed. He turned and admired the dimples on Brooke's cheeks as she laughed at his clumsiness in walking, stumbling, and clutching the pole. She picked up her skates, walked up to him, and took his hand in yours. "Come on. I'll catch you if you fall," she said with a flirty sarcasm that he found exciting. He smiled at her comment and asked, "Do you promise?" "Yes," she retorted. "If you're good," she returned with a wink. Aaron pulled in the driveway at Brooke's house and turned the car off.
That was
They
quick.
slowly walked. They slowly walked hand in hand until they reached her door, where she turned to stand face to face with him. As she glared into his eyes, he moved his hand to cup the nape of her neck and moved his mouth to meet hers. They kissed passionately for a long, heated moment that made her whole body tingle with want. She couldn't think, and he couldn't breathe. Her tongue exploring the inside of his mouth made him forget how to breathe.
What? What is she looking for?
Just feeling around it there.
It's funny how he's writing from the woman's perspective now. This whole book
It
is from
is.
Aaron's perspective.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like he told her she has a tingle in her body.
She didn't know if she fell into him or if he had pulled her to him, but she had to somehow regain control of herself so he didn't end up in her bed after only the second date. Then the phone rang inside her house, and she was able to push back away from him and give him a melting smile as she slid her hand slowly out of his and asked, "Call me tomorrow?" "Okay," he agreed.
Tease.
She gave him one last little peck on the lips and said, "Good night, Aaron." "Good night, Brooke." He waited for her to get inside her house and close the door before returning to his car, smiling all the way. Things were going great with Brooke, and he was ecstatic about that. Aaron couldn't get the glowing look off his face even by the time morning came around. He woke up with the smell of ham, eggs, and coffee drifting across his nose. He lifted himself out of bed and threw some shorts and a tank top on and made his way to the kitchen in his slippered feet, greeting his mom with a drowsy, "Good morning." "Good morning back to you," she replied. "By the looks of your face, you and Brooke had a good time last night," she said it with assumption and sarcasm. "How can you tell by the look on my face?" he asked. "Well, your smirk for one, and the lipstick smudges that are all over your lips could have helped my estimation a bit," she retorted with a grin.
What? He's not fucking washed himself, the dirty bastard, at this point. He's still got lipstick
Didn't even look
all
in a
over
mirror.
Didn't even.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, what kind of kisser is Brooke that she's leaving just lipstick smeared all
He
over
was
him?
exploring his.
Where's the lipstick?
That is true.
On
On
his face? Cheek?
all over the lips. Like
all over his
smudges.
It's like a cartoon kiss, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
His mother's
His
going to check
mom
his
is
penis now.
like right. She is incredibly interested in what happened last night.
Yeah.
Give me the details.
She's horny.
Did you fuck her?
But what a cheesy plot device, though. Oh, it just so happens there's red lipstick still left on his face. Oh, fuck you, Lorne.
I know. Aaron's face grew red with embarrassment. "I'll be right back. I forgot to wash my face," he said with a red face and a smile. He noticed his mother's grin grow as he turned to make his way to the bathroom to wash Brooke's lipstick off his face. When he returned, he indulged himself in the perfectly cooked breakfast with
Pointing
his
towards
mother.
something else then. He returned to indulge himself. Like, oh, did he now?
You know what? I just thought if Lorne actually ever did have a kiss and a woman's lipstick got on his face, he would never remove it.
No, he would wear it like a badge of honor.
Well, like that
Right.
Simpsons where that girl spits on Bert's hand and he never washes it and he ends up getting dirty and the dog's dragging him around the front room.
Yeah, just like
Maybe
that.
it's time I washed it.
There's probably a Star Wars equivalent to that.
Yeah, let's not go there.
And then talked with her about his date with Brooke while they drank their coffee. Over the next couple of months, Aaron and Brooke spent more and more time with each other and became very close. Aaron had brought Brooke to meet his mom, his sister Kelly and her family, and his brother Brady and his girlfriend. Aaron could tell his feelings for Brooke were growing very strong when he started calling her in the middle of the day just to talk to her. Then the night came when they both could no longer contain their feelings for each other and lost themselves in the heat of passion.
On the phone. Are they on the phone?
No, they were face to face.
Okay.
A month after their first time of lovemaking, Aaron took Brooke to a fancy romantic restaurant. After they were finished eating, Aaron took her to a pier, sat down on his knees, and proposed to her. Brooke had already known almost from the time that her and Aaron first met that he was the one she wanted to marry. She let him slide the engagement ring on her hand after she said yes, then gave him a long, mind-losing kiss that led them back to her house. I hope you guys are ready.
What the hell?
Hold on. No, I have.
We got.
We've got to
We
take
gotta take a
stock. This has happened very fucking quickly.
It did, and I have a question. So it says their feelings were growing very strong, and he was calling her in the middle of the day. We know, okay. And then it says, then the night came when they both could no longer contain their feelings for each other and lost themselves in the heat of passion. So they've already had sex.
Yeah, what the fuck?
We're on to a month later when he took her to a fancy room. So why didn't we get to hear about the first time? What
we do get a sex scene.
About this sex scene instead of their first sexy scene?
I think he might have forgotten he wrote that.
Yeah, but he could have edited it.
I'm surprised though, because I must have missed that part. I didn't realize that happened because I thought they waited until they were engaged to have sex because that's like a romantic thing in Lorne's mind. I would assume that he would.
Maybe the first time wasn't so great. I mean, considering Aaron was a virgin.
They lost themselves in the heat of passion.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And do people get like everything was just too convenient? They met each other, they fell in love, they went roller skating, it was so great, and then they were screwing each other for a month and then got proposed. It's like, oh God. But we get, how many lines of dialogue did we get between these two characters?
We got some flirting at the roller skating.
None. Even the proposal wasn't dialogue. You just went down on his knees, proposed, and said yes.
Probably one of the most important parts in the book so fucking far. This guy who got PTSD and went through all these traumatic experiences has proposed to a girl. And don't forget, not long ago, which we've not heard anything about since, he was seeing his dead friend on the street with a gun.
Wait, where is he again? Is he in Indiana? Is that right?
Yes.
They have many piers in Indiana? I mean, what is it, Lake Michigan, maybe?
Yeah, it could have been something like that. Exactly.
But it's just weird. I mean, you could have described that, where the hell they were, give some landmarks. And then I would have loved to hear the proposal.
Oh, I know. It would have been good. She would have cried, right?
Yeah.
I think his mom would have done it for him.
His mom. It's like, I think he would have been very passive about it. Like he's been standoffish with women his whole life, that kind of thing. Or he might have just cracked wise or something.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, he just glosses over that.
It does, doesn't it? It's remarkable. Anyway.
And mind-losing kiss that leads them back to her house. I don't know what to say.
I thought Aaron already lost his mind. He lost it in the field.
Well, this was a different time.
Again.
Yeah.
Makes it sound like they were kissing all the way back to their house, or she knocked him out with a kiss and he woke up and he was in her house. It's weird. It's weird.
Right. Okay, ready?
Here we go.
I guess.
Okay.
Are we getting into the? Oh yes.
We are.
Hold on, I gotta get my.
I don't want to know what you're fucking getting into your close proximity now.
When Aaron turned around to leave after kissing Brooke goodnight, she gripped his hand tightly and pulled him back to her. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pressed her firm breast against his chest, and then explored the cleft of his lip with her tongue.
Oh.
Moving her tongue slowly along the rim of his lower lip, then pulled him into her house, closed, and locked the door behind them.
Dum, dum, dum. Are you ready for this, guy? Are you ready, guys? Here we go.
I wish there was dialogue. I know what we get. We get.
No.
Oh, gross.
Can I just
My girl.
point out this bit? Just read this line here, Tiffany.
I see no reason why you can't spend the night here tonight, Brooke exclaimed.
Well, haven't they been making love for a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he goes home, I guess.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but that's his pre-sex.
Or
But
maybe
here we go again.
Maybe it was the second time. Maybe they lost themselves, but then they decided to save themselves again.
That's what I'm gonna think happened, and he just chose to forget about the first time, which is why
It doesn't matter. They're ready to
don't hear
go.
about it.
Right.
They're
Okay.
But okay, never mind. Sorry.
this hot couple.
Are you sure you want to do this? After all, you are an engaged woman now, Aaron said sarcastically.
Yeah, to him.
They
Whoa,
already
whoa.
did it. They
Yeah.
already
Yeah,
did
what the
it.
fuck? Because he forgot that he wrote that. What the fuck is this guy doing?
I think he's trying to, you know how he's always saying, "You're my woman, you're my wife, you're my." He's trying to make it a we're engaged kind of statement. You know, let her know her new status the next time he sticks it in her.
Right.
You know?
Mhm. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, she said as she led him to her bedroom.
Jesus.
Oh gosh, are they naked? Are they naked?
What are you doing?
Aaron just got.
I
naked.
don't even want to
Not her.
read ahead.
Just walk.
Once she turned the one dim light on that sat on her nightstand, she returned herself to his embrace and began exploring the inside of his
She's
mouth
doing
with
a
her
lot of
tongue
exploring.
again.
Is she like a female Indiana Jones or something? What the fuck's going on?
Isn't that disgusting to imagine that? What a hideous way to describe kissing.
And then once you turn
Finding each
inside
other,
of her
getting
mouth. Oh,
Exploring
that
the
coffee
inside.
ham-filled mouth.
Like, oh, I think you have a cavity.
It's like exploring. Hold on a second, I'm almost done. Get in the left quadrant right now.
Finding each other, getting more lost in the moment, the fires inside of them began to grow hotter as they lost their clothes and climbed under the covers of the queen-size bed. He slid his hand between her breast and down to her navel, then gently back up and slowly brushed his thumb against her already hardened nipple. The contact made her let out a heavy exhale, and he traced the V in her neck with his tongue, then began moving it toward her left breast. She memorized the form of the muscles in his back as she let his tongue and hands take their freedom of exploring her body. She moaned when he moved his hand to the core of her. As his fingers
The core
thrust
of
back
her?
and forth, yeah.
Like her ab muscles, I think.
Or at her very core, maybe? Who knows? Okay.
As his fingers thrust back and forth, her inner heat grew and expelled a dampness between her thighs that she had never before experienced to this
What?
extent. Her body was crying out for his manhood with every plausible stroke his fingers made.
Oh,
Good stuff.
she expelled a dampness. Expelled.
I
fuck is
reckon
going on?
no one has
Yeah.
ever written that in the history of romantic novels.
She had never
Expelled
experienced before.
a dampness.
Expelled a dampness. There you go, guys. That's a new one.
Body was crying out for for his manhood. Pleasure. Holy shit! This guy's a virgin.
Hey, I tell you what, though, he's good, isn't he? I mean, I want to have a word with this Aaron fella.
Yeah. Wonder when her left
I've
leg is
never had
going
a
to go
girl
right forward.
expel dampness like that before.
He removed his fingers gently from her core and feathered them back up to her right nipple and turned his body over the top of hers. He felt her heavy, erotic breath on his face as his erection brushed her wet center.
Oh my God.
Then she let out a gentle moan as he entered her body. Her moans grew into cries with every strong inward push he threw her, until the final cry of passionate release and satisfaction that came from them both. Aaron rolled over to relieve her body of his weight. She laid her head upon his chest and muttered, "I love you," to Aaron. He returned with, "I love you too," as she rested her hand on his right bicep and fell asleep for the night.
Jesus Christ! Left, right, upper, lower. what was his time? How long did he last?
Oh, I think we all know
I
that.
couldn't have done. Well, they didn't do anything. She lay there like a starfish. He humped her, and then it was over.
Like, how many fucking moles go into cars with every strong inward push? So we don't get any kind
thrust. Did he say thrust? Did he say thrust?
He said he thrust his fingers back and forth.
Right.
Thrust is okay.
No, those inward pushes were thrown. He threw them. Yeah.
And also the idea that he rolled over to relieve her body of his weight. Is he actually not like on his elbows or something? Is he actually like on her? His entire weight is on her. What's he doing?
Poor Brooke.
Of his weight. And did she? Was it good for her? I can't tell.
Well, she was moaning a lot and like crying. So
and believe it or not, they both orgasmed at the same time.
At the exact same moment. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
When you're in love.
And then they both fell asleep in each other's arms, content as can be.
Was his penis in her all night?
Of course. I like how he feathered his fingers up. What the fuck does that mean? Like, kind of like the spirit fingers, like you.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, fluttering them.
Yes.
For right nipple.
Feathered them up her body.
Yeah.
And she expelled a dampness.
What does erotic breath smell like anyway?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Her heavy erotic breath. What's the difference between a non-erotic breath and an erotic breath? Is it like fire? Does it like melt his skin? Like does she exert perfume when she breathes?
Well, she expels
dampness through her mouth as well.
That's right.
I like a strong inward push. That's like sticking it in you or throwing it in you.
Exactly.
A wet center. That's funny.
Well, his mom. Well, I doubt his mom edited this part. This was too risque to give her. But he can't say vagina. He can't say all the things that he would normally say. He's got to be creative, and this is as creative as it gets.
I love you. I love you too.
Yeah, I love you's at the end where. Mwah.
I don't think of when I think of a core, I think of like your abdominal muscles, like your core strength. I don't think that's where a vagina is. I could be mistaken, but
you could be definitely mistaken.
That was really, that's it for the sex scene, right? I mean,
that is it. Well, for right now.
Okay. Oh, we get more.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next morning, Brooke opened her eyes and found herself contently wrapped around Aaron's body. She hated to remove herself from his unconscious embrace, but did so very easily, so not to wake him.
You see again, he's writing from her perspective again.
Yeah, and he's also sleeping while she gets up, and nobody wants to disrupt Aaron while he's sleeping.
Yeah.
She flung her robe around her naked body and tied the rope securely. She stood there for a moment and stared at the diamond engagement ring on her finger and felt the warmth of love emanating inside of her.
Oh, fuck off.
A broad smile came across her face as she stood in front of the mirror staring at herself in the ring as Aaron's arms pulled her body close to his from behind.
He got up.
He kissed her ear gently and led her back to the bed where he removed her robe and made love to her again before their day began.
Before the vegan
The
breakfast.
vegan breakfast. That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
Aaron
Well,
sat at the. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, that's two we got. Aaron ended up getting lucky twice.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
got
she's
it.
engaged now, so he was able to sleep over. So they're going to be fucking all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron sat at the table and drank his coffee as he watched Brooke moving about the kitchen making breakfast for the two of them. He wondered to himself he had gotten so lucky to be paired with a woman who he could feel so much for. An inner smile grew as he took another sip of the hot coffee. He was finally happy and content, he concluded. He had finally found what his life was all about in the woman he was sharing his time with right now. So again, he has a woman who's catering to him, making the breakfast, just like his mother.
Arodo loves that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She made a comment just before she prognosticated that if she makes breakfast for him, she's going to scream.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arodo.
Sorry, Arodo.
After finishing their breakfast, they decided to drive to Aaron's mother's house and give her the news. She was so pleased that Aaron had chosen Brooke and that Brooke had accepted his proposal. She called Aaron's sister Kelly and told her the news and had Kelly come over at once. She then shooed Aaron out of the house as she, Brooke, and Kelly began making plans. Aaron told Brooke that she could do whatever she wanted with the wedding, and if she wanted his opinion on anything, then to just call him on his cell phone. Brooke had called Amy to have her come over also and help start planning the wedding. Seems how it was Amy and Derek that put Aaron and Brooke together. Brooke also wanted Amy to be her maid of honor. Aaron went over his sister Kelly's house to help his brother-in-law with the kids, while the females were at his mother's house beginning the plans for the wedding. Exactly.
They had to start planning the wedding the next morning, immediately?
In intricate detail as well.
God. And Mom shooed Aaron out of the house. Is he not getting married too? He doesn't want to help plan his own wedding?
Oh,
No,
you stay
because
away now.
That's
We'll take care of things.
That's female stuff, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's female stuff.
How's he paying for the wedding? I just want to know that. Who's paying for this? It's not Brooke's family. She doesn't
traditionally,
have
isn't it?
Well, there's never been any mention of any kind of finance in this book.
Speaking of which, we don't know any of Brooke's family. We don't know her father. We don't know anybody.
Right, which is exactly how Lorne wants it.
Isolated and vulnerable.
Exactly. Aaron received a call from Brooke at around 6 o'clock that evening on his cell phone. Hi, honey. Brooke greeted.
Hey, honey.
Hi,
Oh,
Aaron returned. Your mother asked me, Kelly, and Amy to stay the night here with her, so I thought you might want to know, because Kelly wants to know if you'll stay there and help Josh with the kids, Brooke explained. I don't know. Sounds like you ladies might be having too much fun there, he said sarcastically. We are, she replied. I'm having a great time. Aaron could hear the love and happiness in her voice, and it melted him to the core. His vagina, apparently. Okay.
This is Lorne's dream.
It is.
This whole thing.
It is, isn't it? It's
It's
such an idealistic, trouble-free scenario, isn't it?
Where the girls are with the girls.
Nightmare.
No, all planning things for him and caring about him and, shooing him off and making him do fun things to stay away.
Yeah, they're all the girls are just at their sleepover, including his 80-year-old mother.
All the guys are in tuxedos, tossing a football around.
Why couldn't you go over there and sleep with the girls?
Aaron, all the girls.
Well, Amanda, why couldn't he just go back home and oh, wait a minute, Brooke and him can't sleep together in the same room. Okay.
Brooke is sleeping I know. Well, no, he has to sleep at his sister's house and take care of her kids, because she, instead of staying home taking care of her own kids, she's having a sleepover with her mother and Aaron's new fiance, so they can talk about how much they love Aaron and plan
That's right.
the wedding.
Yeah.
But did they get diapers for the baby yet?
Probably not, but she has a 6-month-old baby. And she's like,
This
I'm
could
just
be a
going to sleep
pull-ups.
over here. I'm just going to sleep over here with my brother's fiance that we can pick out wedding venues the day after they got engaged.
Right. Everything is going to be planned. You have to have a sleepover so that you have all the decisions are made that night.
It's so funny to think of that too, because from what we've heard from Lorne's mom, she doesn't sound like this sweet. I mean, think about what we've heard, like the conversations we've heard her have with Lorne when she was yelling at him about you live in the past and, you know, all that conversation. Does she sound like the kind of woman who wants to have a fucking sleepover party with her son's girlfriend so they can discuss the wedding? I just don't. He tries to make her out to be this incredibly sweet, like, maternal person who only lives and it just exists for him. But I don't think that's really how she is. Well, I'm sure that's not how she is. Of course, nobody is 100% like that. But she just doesn't sound like the type who wants to have a sleepover party with Lorne's new weird girlfriend.
And she didn't seem that broken up when she was pleading to the judge for leniency.
No, absolutely not. And in the stories that she told weren't even her own stories.
Didn't come
she
from
was
her
told
heart at all.
those. Exactly. She was told those.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have anything nice to say about your child,
have them write it for
you. Right. You need suggestions in order to do that. It's very bizarre. And it sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. You know, this overbearing family that seems really into, like, in that movie, Brooke would never be seen again.
Yeah, this is like Rosemary's Baby.
It's kind of a precursor for a disaster, though, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah. But not with the family. So, let's see. Aaron could hear the love and happiness in her voice, and it melted him to the core. Okay. Call me when you wake up tomorrow morning, and I'll come back over. Okay. Have a good night, and I love you, she said, then ended with a phone kiss. Okay. I love you too.
I want a kiss.
Bye. Aaron hung up the phone and gave his brother-in-law a look that said, "You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you." But before he could say anything, Josh asked, "What are they doing over there?" "Well," Aaron started, "looks like us guys here at your house tonight. My mom asked all the girls to stay the night there, so we're stuck here. Kelly said she'll call the kids to say goodnight before they go to sleep." "That would figure," Josh retorted. "Get women together for an event like this, and you can't separate them until the event is over."
Oh my God. This dialogue is
Jesus
just
Christ.
fucking... This
like
is
anybody
painful.
gives a shit. He wishes that there were women in his life who cared even a fraction of this amount about him. Nobody cares. Or nobody's having a sleepover.
I love it how you just Amanda James, you just stating that this book is actually Lorne's life. Nobody gives a shit about you, Lorne. Stop writing this. Don't forget this is Aaron.
But it's Lorne. Lorne is not capable of writing from any other perspective but his own. So it's Lorne. It's the way he wishes his relationships turned out.
I just find it funny though. You're right, of course, but I find it hilarious that you just fuck off, Lorne. No one gives a shit.
I love her.
Well, it's so annoying. Why does he have to have a sleepover with Josh?
Who is Josh again?
Yeah, who is Josh?
His husband.
That's his
brother-in-law. That Kelly's Kelly is just
He's
right.
He's like an asshole too.
Have to have sleepovers. I want to know. And what?
Get
Josh
women together for an
of
event like this.
Children?
Sorry.
He has to have Aaron come help him take care of his own kids. He's one of those dads who's like, "Oh, I'm babysitting my kids today."
Exactly. Yeah, because when Aaron had gone over, his sister is in the kitchen trying to make dinner, holding a baby.
With a baby on her hip, right?
Yeah, while he's outside throwing pass to his little boy. Yeah, because that's what the boys do. They wait until dinner's ready. Then they come in and eat, and then the good little woman is in the kitchen with the baby and whatever, all these pots and pans. And
Josh has bought into that too. With his get women together for an event like this, and you can't separate them until the event is over.
Exactly. I know. God.
All these characters are like a mild version of Aaron.
Aaron agreed with Josh as they both threw out
a
grin. If it were up to me, we would have just gone to the Justice of the Peace and gotten married. But I know Brooke has always dreamed of a nice wedding, so who am I to deprive her?
You've only known her a fucking month.
Yeah, that's true. I know your sister loved planning our wedding. She didn't want me to make any decisions without her knowledge. I got kicked out of it and just agreed with her all the way through the planning of it. I thought it would all work out better that way, Josh informed as he fell back into his memory. Well, this means that we're going to have to do our own cooking tonight. Do you trust me to cook while you take care of the baby?
Sorry,
Aaron
can
asked.
I just make an observation? We get lots of dialogue about things that could just be explained with one sentence. The wedding had been planned for such and such a day, but we get loads of unnecessary dialogue, and where we need dialogue to establish character and set scenes, we get nothing.
We get one sentence.
Everything's back to front. Like, it's just fucking remarkable.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Josh didn't have more details on the pizza that he's ordering, to be fair.
Are they ordering pizza? Or
they can't. Right. No, they can't cook for themselves. Kelly's not there.
Guys.
And take care of the baby? Absolutely not.
Right. Not hardly, Josh replied. We'll order pizza. Good choice. I'm afraid of my own cooking, much less having my nephew or brother-in-law taking a risk of their lives eating it, Aaron returned.
I bet these assholes have Hawaiian pizza, too.
Josh laughed at Aaron's joke about his own ability to cook as he picked up the phone and dialed the number to order the pizza. By the time the pizza had arrived, Josh had already fed the baby and laid him in the crib for the night, and he fell fast asleep. Aaron, Josh, and Blake had set up the Hungry Hippo game in the middle of the table and continued to play it while they ate their pizza and drank their sodas. Kelly had called near the end of the game to say goodnight to Blake and her husband and to reassure Blake that she would be home in the morning. After hanging up the phone, the three guys finished the game and the pizza and retired for the night.
He is the most boring person.
Why doesn't he drink? Why doesn't Aaron have a beer once in a while? Soda?
Or why doesn't he chain smoke cigarettes? Because I bet he does.
If he drank, he'd be more interesting. He'd have a little edge to him, I guess.
Told you, should have been some kind of cross-dressing cannibal. That would have been, well, that's just Buffalo Bill in it, I suppose. Oh no, he didn't eat people, did he? Oh, did he?
Picked up the phone
so
and dialed
boring.
it.
They're eating pizza, playing Hungry fucking Hippo. Why?
Remember Hungry Hippo?
I'm truly annoyed. I don't understand why that was even necessary to include any of that. Who gives a shit? Lorne.
And if this character was written to a little more truthfully, he'd be like texting Brooke every second, calling and leaving.
We're going to have to make our own version of Taken Abroad where it's actually Lorne and not this fucking idealistic version of himself that he thinks he actually is.
Well, if it was Lorne, then he wouldn't. Where did he propose to Brooke? On some pier?
The pier.
Or something?
Yeah, the pier. Yeah.
Well, no, what really happened is he proposed to her on the phone. He made her go sit on the toilet.
That's right.
Or did he put his penis through a piece of paper?
I hope so. I think so.
And at no stage did Brooke ever exert fucking dampness when in his company.
And in this version, Aaron has a very large penis.
Yeah.
And it's not crooked or weird.
It's not fucked up.
Like a fortune cookie.
Like a pig's tail. Yeah.
Pig's tail.
Josh pulled a sheet, pillow, and blanket out of the pantry in the hall and set them on the couch for Aaron to use. After retreating to his room, Aaron spread the sheet and blanket out on the bed, crawled under them, and adjusted the pillow to where his head could rest comfortably.
What the fuck do we need to know this
I
for?
don't know what the fuck is he going on about.
He lay there for about an hour, reminiscing about the night before when he held the woman of his dreams in his arms. Slowly, he slid into a deep, soundless sleep.
Soundless sleep. I've never heard sound sleep.
Right, here we go. Finally some action.
Somewhere in the middle of the night, Aaron began turning in his sleep. He was having a dream about something that was haunting him. It was easy to see. He sat up straight and woke himself up from his sleep yelling, "No."
Aaron, we need a bit more.
Kill people. Kill people.
No, that was perfect.
People must die, Aaron. People must die.
Josh came running barefoot and in his pajamas from the bedroom to see what was going on and found Aaron soaked with sweat and pale as a ghost. He quickly ran next to his side and grabbed both of his shoulders as he sat in front of him. "Aaron, are you all right?" He asked in a worry. Aaron tried focusing his eyes on Josh before rubbing the sweat and tears away. "Yeah, I guess I just had a nightmare." Josh let go of Aaron's shoulders and turned the lamp on from the end table. "Do you have them often?" No, I don't. I haven't had any since the night I met Brooke," Aaron answered.
So he had a nightmare the night he met Brooke?
No, I think right before then, probably.
Andrew,
so
if you and I are ever sleeping in the same room and you have a bad dream, you're on your own, bro.
Okay,
so
I understand that, and that's the way it should be, dude.
Yeah, well, unless you wake me up and piss me off, but pretty much, this is weird. He comes in running in from another bedroom to find out.
Yes. Everyone is so concerned with Aaron. Everybody loves him so much.
Mm-hmm. I think it might be a good idea if you see a doctor if you keep having them.
He's just told you that he doesn't.
Well, he's saying if you keep having them, I guess.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, if it keeps happening, I will. But I'm sure it was just a fluke that I had this one, Aaron replied to ease his brother-in-law's mind and his own. "Are you sure you don't want me to take you to see one in the morning? You don't have to say anything to anyone about it."
What the fuck? Are you sure you don't need to see a doctor? I'm really worried about you. I've never seen anybody have a bad dream before.
This is really the first time that anyone has been concerned about Aaron's mental health since he came home.
You mean maybe it's PTSD from the fucking surprise party and the strobe lights and the fucking no, the guns.
It's a very Lorne thing I noticed. So he just said that he hasn't had a nightmare since the night he met Brooke.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's like Brooke cured him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a Lorne way of thinking. He thinks he needs a woman to get him out of patterns and to get him past his bullshit or whatever weird
because
phrase.
I love you.
Right. Whatever
Sky
weird
River
phrase he's using.
Yeah, the Sky
It's
River
her
rain.
job to get him past it.
I agree with you, man. If a friend yelled no in the next room, Andrew, if you yelled no, I'd run in to make sure there's nobody in there. But
You're
on
bro.
a nightmare. Okay, bro, I'm going back to bed. I totally understand that.
Give him a little hug. Just a little hug.
I'd at least want you to kiss my car, or at least
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll make sure not to put my weight on you.
As long as you don't exert any dampness, that's fine.
You have to wait until Andrew falls back to sleep again.
That's right.
No, I'll be fine. Thanks anyway. Go back to bed, Josh. I'll be all right, Aaron ordered, feeling guilty about waking up his brother-in-law. Okay, let me know if you change your mind about seeing a doctor.
He's just had
Josh
one
returned.
nightmare. What's this?
You should be committed.
I will. Good night. Night. Josh went back to bed and left Aaron laying there alone as he wished. Aaron laid with his eyes open in the dark. Staring at the trees outside the window that he could see from the light of the moon, he began to wonder. Why did I have that nightmare after all this time of not having them? Why did the memories of the Iraq War start haunting him in his dreams again?
Hang on a minute. Why did he started talking in the third person?
Yeah.
He's in the first person, then he's in the third person.
Switch. And there quotes. Is he speaking aloud or thinking in his mind?
He began to wonder. So he's talking to himself again, ironically, the most disturbing element of his mental health is not one nightmare and seeing Paul on the street. It's that he continually talks to himself in quote marks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talks quietly to himself.
But Amanda, you're right. What's the significance of it stopping with when he met Brooke? It's to show that she's
She saved him.
savior.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
weird.
how he thinks in real life. I think Lorne thinks that if he just has a woman, then everything else will be fine. Everything else will work itself out. I think that's what he wants more than anything
He said that
else.
actually many times.
Mm-hmm.
Many to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I never trusted anybody as much. I was never like this with anybody. I used to be this way, but I don't do that anymore because of you. You know, whatever.
Yeah, look at all his interactions with Debbie. She was helping him in really important ways in his mind. I mean, we know that he'll just go along with anything just to keep a woman on the phone or to, say whatever he thinks she wants to hear. So they can.
No,
end
Debbie
up
likes
together.
bad boys, so that was part of it.
Right. But there was all this, you need to stop threatening, you're going to leave me, nobody else can help me.
Yeah, that one was weird. I remember that one.
You're the only one I'll do this with. Almost like you owe it to him to fix him because he trusts you. It's very weird. It's a really weird way of thinking. And for the life of me, I can't understand why he would think any woman would find that attractive. Like a man needs her to just be a normal human being and not like
the part of that
children.
It's devotion. I think that he thinks that, when he says, I offer you real love, pretty much the only thing that he doesn't realize that anybody can love anybody and anybody can be loved. And he thinks his love is special. He thinks it's real love, or as he says, or authentic or whatever it is. Never mind. I don't want to. I'm in the middle. I got to figure out what's going to happen next.
Okay. Would they stop again after tonight, or would he have to deal with them every night again for God knows how long? He let the questions run through his mind as he slipped slowly back to sleep.
I'm going to have to interrupt again. I'm sorry to interrupt the flow.
Okay.
But he says, why did the memories of the Iraq war start haunting him in his dreams again? Well, we don't even know what happened in the nightmare. All that happened is he said no. There was no. It's quite an important element. If he's having a dream about what happened to him, massively important in the context of this book is what images is he seeing? What's the nature of the nightmare? Which part of what happened in Iraq is affecting him the most? We just get nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe a reenactment of the kids blowing up or something.
You get nothing. You get tons of description of all the girls in his life having a sleepover and planning the wedding, all the different food that his mother cooks for him or his sister cooks for him or his fiance cooks for him, but nothing that actually furthers the story and would be important to like understanding what's going on in his mind and his mental health. He just had a nightmare. That's all.
Two paragraphs of him and his brother-in-law ordering a pizza.
Yeah,
and playing
long,
Hungry
leg strong,
Hippo.
just put. It was just a generic nightmare. No need for detail.
All right. Exactly. The night moved on and the morning came. Aaron's nightmare didn't return after falling back to sleep. Before Aaron left to return to his mother's house, Josh asked him again, Aaron, I know that memories of what happened to you over in Iraq are bothering you because of the nightmare you had. It's no shame to get help with it if you need to.
Leave alone, man.
Are you sure you don't want me to take you to see a doctor? I'm sure, Aaron replied as he reached his hand out to shake Josh's hand. If I change my mind, I'll call you. But in the meantime, do me a favor and don't mention this to anyone. I don't need people worrying about me when there's nothing to worry about, especially with the wedding taking place and all.
So did he ever say that his nightmare was about Iraq?
No, he doesn't. They don't have that in the conversation at all.
Well, then why the fuck does Josh think that that's what he could have had a nightmare that his mom was eaten by a crocodile or something?
Right.
Well, I was thinking about that, Amanda James, and if you think about the context of this book, right? Let's see. The story is he's been discharged or whatever, not discharged, but he's been brought back over here because of what he's got PTSD and he needs to go home and recover. Even though there's been no mention of any aftercare, any therapy he's going through, he's just going to carry on with life as normal. What's he doing for a job? Where's he getting it? None of that. So there, you would think that the family are aware that he's got a problem. But yet they're not that bothered about his problem because they just throw surprise parties at him and scare the shit out of him. But
I think they might be worried about his energy level. He's always tired.
But you would think that, right, okay, he's had a nightmare. You'd go like, oh, it must be connected to what you've been through. But the problem with that is that he's not displayed any signs of any problem since he's got back. And there's nothing in... If you're going to have a story like this, you've got to have dialogue between the characters and he talks about somebody, about what happened. But it's so loose. There's nothing there, is there?
That would be really revealing, about him, about Lorne, if he described that nightmare a little bit. And it's described a lot of things, actually. But
yeah, because what is it that's this problem? Because we're starting to see a problem developing in his character, if you will, because it's coming at the time when he's arranging the wedding. But is it in relation to Paul, which one would suggest it is because he saw him, or is it in relation to the other things he's seen, the dead taxi driver, the children? It's so inconsistent unless we get some clarity.
All right, you have my word. But don't forget, if you change your mind, let me know. Josh expressed himself with a firm grip on Aaron's hand. Okay, Aaron muttered. I'll tell Kelly to hurry home to you. Aaron drove away and headed back to his mother's house to rejoin his fiancée. Josh, asking him about going to the doctor, jerked his mind back to the nightmare he had as he traveled along the 2-lane road. He couldn't figure out why his nightmare would return after not having one for so long. He'd been feeling great and thought he'd gotten past all the bad things that happened to him in Iraq.
Happened to him.
He still had something that bothered him, he knew. But for the most part, he thought he felt secure. Or was his security just delayed because of all the new happenings in his life with Brooke and getting engaged? He finally pushed his thoughts aside when he pulled into his mother's driveway. He was surprised to find that Brooke and Kelly had gone into Aaron's bedroom and packed everything up to move to Brooke's house.
Jesus.
After he loaded everything into the car, well, yeah, he loaded things into the car. He returned to the house to have lunch with Brooke and his mother. Kelly had already left because she told Blake that she would be back in the morning, and Amy had to leave so that she could get her housework done before she went to work the next day. Aaron, Brooke, and Aaron's mother all sat down at the table and discussed the wedding further while they ate his mother's homemade chicken pie.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It was one of Aaron's favorite dishes.
Of course.
Jesus fucking Christ.
After they finished eating, Brooke helped Aaron's mother gather the dishes from the table and wash them, while Aaron gathered the rest of his things to move to Brooke's house. Once the dishes were done, they both gave Aaron's mother a hug, and Brooke thanked her for the great time and the help with some of the wedding plans. They said their goodbyes and drove off.
Wait a minute, did they ever discuss moving in together? Or is this just a decision that
this is what happens. Yeah, see, this is what happens. While you're at your mother-in-law's house at the sleepover, you're going to pack up your fiance's things because he's moving into your house the very next day. That's just the normal way to do things, Shin.
That's okay. Okay.
Let's see. On the way home, Aaron remained quiet, and Brooke asked him what was wrong. I had a nightmare last night about when I was over in Iraq, he told her. It was odd because I haven't had one since the night you and I met. I thought I was done having them. Maybe you should go see a doctor about it, she suggested. No, Josh said the same thing, but I'm sure it's just a fluke that I had another one. I'll be fine, Aaron claimed, and then tried changing the subject to get his mind away from the negative thoughts about it. So did Mom, Kelly, and Amy help you a lot with the wedding plans, or was it more of a slumber party? Aaron asked with sarcasm. It was a little of both. It was fun. I had a great time, Brooke returned. Good. I know my mom really likes you a lot.
Ooh,
did she tell you that? Brooke asked. Yes, she did. After she met you the first time, he explained. Good. I like knowing I'll have a good mother-in-law because of my family. Well,
What family?
Because of what?
I know, exactly. That's the first time she ever said anything.
But she doesn't explain. Because of my family? Because of what? Because I don't have any family? Because my family are meth addicts? Because
That's what it sounds like.
Right. It sounds like she has a terrible family. Or that, that's what he's trying to express.
Which would have made maybe an interesting part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But, what do I know?
Well, Aaron sighed with a smile. You definitely got what you wanted. And I did too, because I got you. Aw. Brooke smiled at Aaron's comment as she slid her hand in his, scooted closer to him, and kissed him on the cheek, then rested her head on his shoulder while he drove. When they finally returned to Brooke's house, they unloaded Aaron's belongings and brought them into the house to unpack. Aaron had found an empty cardboard box in Brooke's basement that he used to put all of his military uniforms and certificates in, and placed it in the attic after labeling it on the box. He came back down from the attic and found Brooke sniffing some of his clothes to figure out if they were clean or dirty.
Okay.
Those are dirty, he said as he laughed. Yeah, I figured that out after sniffing them, Brooke retorted, and then stuck her tongue out at Aaron. Do you want to go through these for me? It seems as you know what's clean and what's not. Yes, I will, Aaron answered, then gave her a kiss and began sorting out his clean clothes from his dirty ones. How about it just assuming they're all dirty at that point?
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Just wash
just
them
put them
again.
in the damn washing machine, right?
Well, this is his mother's fault for not washing his clothes.
Right, exactly.
How long have they known each other now?
Couple months.
Okay, suddenly they're moving in.
His room must have been a disaster.
Yeah, dude, moving in, they got fucking engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're already planning the wedding.
Yes.
Like really planning it. They had a whole night's worth of planning. I wonder what they got done.
They probably completed everything.
They pick out the dress. Well, how do you even do planning a wedding? You can't just sit in a house and do. I mean, I guess you could, but you got to go look at venues. You've got to.
Well, see, but Lorne doesn't know that. Lorne has no idea about anything it takes to plan a wedding. So he assumes that you're going to sit down with magazines and you're going to flip through the pages and giggle and circle the dresses you like, that type of thing.
And go to Honolulu for your honeymoon.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you went too far.
Brooke left to the... Go ahead.
And I can't really see where you are in. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Brooke left the room with a load of hers and Aaron's dirty clothes mixed together so she could wash them.
Stop right there. I think Lorne loves that.
Oh,
the fact that they mix their dirty clothes together.
Right.
Closeness.
I thought you were referring to her washing his fucking clothes for him.
I thought so too, but that's an excellent point as well. Because there's no grossness at all between the two of them.
Well, that's why she was sniffing his dirty clothes. Because
why would you?
So much.
Oh my God.
Well, nothing disgusts her about him because they're in love. It's a closeness thing.
That is disgusting. I would never do that.
No, of course not. Who the fuck would? He loves that though, and it's he's said stuff like that before. Like when the catfish that he's talking to will mention something disgusting that's meant to see if he is grossed out by it, he'll say, "You know what that tells me? It tells me that you love me."
It's part of you. He's the kind of guy that doesn't give a shit what toothbrush he'll use in the bathroom.
Oh no! Well, he doesn't use a toothbrush. Exactly.
Right. Well, luckily, Brooke's lucky then. By the way, shouldn't Brooke's name have an E at the end of it?
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, it annoys me that. I'm glad you've said that. Even looking at it pisses me off. It just doesn't look right, does it?
It does. It's like he's like a river or something. Like a stream.
He's having a flashback to the Brook. Did you guys remember that?
I remember it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Titty fucking. Aaron continued to sort through his clothes and began thinking about the nightmare he had the night before. He
Again.
couldn't imagine why he would, all of a sudden, start having them again, but he hoped they wouldn't come back again tonight.
He couldn't imagine why. He hasn't had any treatment at all for his mental health issues,
Right,
but he's
none.
surprised.
And also, I
I
suppose,
now. Why didn't all these problems go away?
yeah, you're going to know as well how he's feeling, so it's going to be highly unlikely that you're feeling completely fine about everything. You've resolved everything in your conscious mind, but yet you're having nightmares and you don't know why. None of this makes any sense at all.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, you don't. Maybe some nightmares linger on a little bit, but you just think about them for what they really are. They're just nightmares. You know, you don't start having these dreaded, moments. Or, oh my God, why did it come back? I don't know. And it's not reoccurring as far as we know, right? It's just this one nightmare.
No, but at least I can understand why he would question it at this point. Because if you were having a nightmare about the Iraq situation, you'd be a bit worried. But the point is, there's been no other hint at it. There's been no talk about how he's feeling about everything that happened to him. Like, he was taken away from the force, taken back home. It's called taken abroad, but shouldn't it be taken back home? But, like, there's no explanation of why, under what grounds, what care is he having? What's his conscious mind like? What's he going through? How does he feel about it? It's just, he's perfectly capable of meeting a girl and fucking making her damp herself, but yeah, he's having...
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense because the way that this is written, it's like he just came home from college.
Yeah. They just threw a party for him. Welcome home.
They threw a party, exactly. And it's funny, too, how Aaron, I believe, is at least the middle child. Because his brother is younger, but he's being treated as if he's the baby. Like, his brother is already out of the house. Aaron comes home and his mother redecorates his room, makes all of his favorite food. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm. Then we get a little bit of info about his sister, but we get jack shit about his little brother.
Yeah, he just went over there, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then he went home.
Peeling potatoes.
No, that was his
No,
friend.
that was his friend. That was Derek.
Yeah, that's Derek. We got way more about Derek than we got about... I don't even remember his brother's name. Bunky? What is it? Does anybody remember?
Bunky.
Maybe that's why he doesn't talk about him a lot.
You know what, though, about the like mental health stuff and the fact that he's not getting any treatment and nobody ever talks about it. People just started talking about it now because he had one nightmare and they're like, oh, shit. Remember Aaron got sent home? And he was in a psychiatric hospital for 3 months. Maybe we should think about like getting him to a doctor. Like they just remembered it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
or look into it themselves. You know, what's going on with my son or what's going on with my brother.
He didn't seem to think he would need any kind of therapy or treatment or anything because he found a girlfriend.
Well, he snapped out of it. It's just like he snapped out of his attraction to younger children. Just snapped out of it.
Right.
I really think Brooke was the cure. That in his mind, he's surprised. Like, why am I having these nightmares again? I have Brooke. I have a woman. We're getting married. So why should I be having a difficult time after seeing something incredibly traumatic and life-changing?
Well, the way that everyone treated it was you just don't talk about it. He'll talk to us if he's comfortable. I'm here if you want to talk about it. But those types of conversations would have to happen as far as, you know, maybe that person doesn't want to tell you exactly what happened or, you know, how they're feeling and all that. They may not be comfortable, but having the conversation of, especially from a mother's point of view, having the conversation, okay, now that you're here, let's make sure that you're okay. So how do we go about that? Do you have appointments set up? Do we need to make appointments for you? It wouldn't make sense that somebody gets out of a situation like that, especially not only just coming home from war, but coming home because you were in a psychiatric hospital for 3 months.
Right.
It seems like they were just content of, okay, Aaron's home, so we're just going to go back to our regular lives now.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like insulting to people who have actually, the fact that Lorne put no effort into researching or even thinking about that. Anybody who would even, I feel like anybody who would try to write this book, they would realize that it should be priority number one when coming home after going through all the shit that Aaron went through, is to, receive some kind of therapy or whatever. And it's like offensive to people and insulting to people who have been through this to read this bullshit where he doesn't even consider that. And instead, the priority is planning a wedding and going roller skating and eating ham.
Do you know, I'd even forgot that he was in a psychiatric hospital for 3 months. I'd forgot that happened because it's got no story relevance, has it? It's not been referred to. It's not changed anything.
And that makes his laziness even worse. I mean, he's always getting rest. He was in a psych ward for 3 months. I think that's all he do there, right? He's probably in bed. Like,
it'd still be on medication as well, wouldn't it? If you was in a psych ward for 3 months, you wouldn't just go out without any kind of medication.
Or follow up with
the doctor would want to follow you up,
right? With
I don't know.
and everything. I would assume.
I really have I would have no idea what it would be to come back from something like that, especially if your care was over there. I don't know how the VA handles things and all of that, or how quickly it would happen. But it seems to me like, even just from a family point of view, at least to make the attempt, that person could maybe shut down. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you're just going to be watching them really closely as best as you can. But Aaron is just in his regular life. He goes out to see his dead friend buried in the cemetery. He goes to see his friend Derek, and he's just going to go. But mom goes right back to work, and everybody just goes on with life. There's no conversation at all about what's happening with him.
Well, what could have made this book maybe a little more understandable, I guess, is if he did a scene or wrote a chapter about him being in the mental ward and what he's going through. And
absolutely.
That would have recounted his nightmare, or his reality that he saw, that he's having nightmares about. And that would have explained a lot. And also maybe, by the way, you got a little homicidal issue here. I just wanted to know, something, because it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Plus, I think you're right, Tiffany. For a mother who's so attentive, or he wants to portray her as being so attentive, and she can tell that he's changed without him even saying anything. Moms always know everything. And her priority is just hearing about his date and planning his wedding and cooking and cleaning up after him, rather than focusing on what should be the most important thing in his life, which is his mental health after. And remember, he's young. He's like, 20 years old, maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so for her to just completely be oblivious to the fact that he might have any lingering mental health issues is stupid.
Yeah.
It's really stupid.
That's a great point, that, actually. The mother's so great, but yet she doesn't even care. Or she's too stupid to realise. Yeah.
Explains a lot about Aaron.
Right, should we carry on?
Yes. Aaron continued to sort through his clothes and began thinking about the nightmare he had the night before. Oh, sorry about that. Brooke re-entered the room to find Aaron staring off into space. Is everything all right? She asked with concern. Yeah, I was just thinking about the nightmare I had last night. I can't imagine why I would have them again without not having them for so long. It doesn't make sense to me. Well,
doesn't make sense to us either. Don't worry about it.
That's very much like his, I need to figure out why I went there.
Yes, exactly. Well, if you have it tonight or any night from here on, I'll be right here to comfort you, Brooke assured him. Aaron looked at Brooke adoringly and muttered, I love you. I love you too, she said back to him as she leaned over to kiss him.
Did they kiss? Okay. It's
She
important they
explored
kiss.
his mouth with her tongue again.
Oh, explore. Oh, Jesus.
Brooke returned to the laundry, and Aaron continued to unpack and sort through his clothes. It took a couple of hours before they had finished, then sat down to watch TV and eat dinner before retiring to bed. Aaron slept peacefully all night and didn't have another nightmare. He woke up to the smell of pancakes in the kitchen, so he stumbled out of bed and made his way to the kitchen where Brooke was in the middle of flipping another pancake and gave her a good morning kiss. He then proceeded to pour himself a cup of coffee and sit down at the table as Brooke placed a plate in front of him with 3 large pancakes on it.
Lorne is in heaven right now.
After spreading some butter on the pancakes, then covering them with maple syrup, he took his first bite. He considered the taste of Brooke's pancakes like heaven upon his tongue. He didn't think anybody made pancakes better than his mom, but Brooke had proved him wrong about that. He had the pancakes gone in a matter of minutes. Brooke frowned at him when she returned to the table with her plate of pancakes and found his plate empty. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I wanted us to eat together, but you already finished yours," she explained disappointingly.
Oh, lovers tiff.
I'm
No,
sorry,
it's
honey.
just playfulness.
They were just so good
Sorry,
that I couldn't
honey.
stop after I took the first bite. "I'll forgive you this time," Brooke said. "But tomorrow, don't touch it until I'm able to eat with you."
Really?
"Okay." Aaron smiled at her
Wonderful.
demand, then finished drinking his coffee while she ate her pancakes. The next couple of months went by quickly as Aaron got an honorable discharge from the Army and started his new job as a mechanic for a school bus garage. The wedding was quickly approaching, and Aaron and Brooke were getting more anxious and more nervous. About 2 weeks before the wedding, Brooke began not feeling well, so she went to the doctor to make sure she wasn't coming down with
I fucking
something.
know where this is going.
Oh no, what's wrong? I wonder what's wrong with her.
Isn't that Pablo's last words? Not feeling very well.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Maybe there's something wrong with our main artery.
Right.
I love how she needs to go to the doctor to find out what's wrong with her.
Right. I don't feel right, exactly. The last thing she wanted was to be sick on her wedding day. Aaron went with her to the doctor and looked through magazines in the waiting room while she was getting examined. The doctor came out, and Aaron stood up to find out what was wrong with Brooke.
Can we just have a quick pause? I'm sorry, we keep.
Sure.
The next couple of months went by quickly, so we've got a 2-month gap. No details about his mental health. He started a new job, and the date for the wedding has been set. We've just like in the space of one chapter, half a chapter, with such like a huge amount of things have happened with just a couple of sentences.
Right.
He needed to further the story, and he didn't have any more bullshit to write about, like cleaning the house or cleaning the car or cooking, eating.
Yeah, he's like, yada, yada, yada. She wasn't feeling well. That's pretty much it.
I gotta say though, what's coming up here?
Job.
Yeah. So, but what's coming up here is the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen.
I agree.
It wouldn't be the doctor; it would be her.
Of course.
It's just and the way the doctor, it makes it sound like he's hiding it.
No spoilers.
Well, hang on. Yeah, we have to read it.
Okay, let's read it.
Sorry, Shin.
That's okay.
I think that you should follow me, Aaron, the doctor said, trying to keep his composure.
Wait, why? The doctor was trying to keep his composure?
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's the line I read.
Yeah.
Like, he gives a shit.
He's never, exactly.
Right, he's never delivered this news before. Okay,
right.
The doctor's an asshole because he doesn't know whether she's
Lorne doesn't like doctors, does he? So he's not going to portray them in a positive light.
Aaron did as the doctor recommended and followed him to the room that Brooke was in. When he entered the room, he found Brooke was still dressed in her clothes, so he figured that meant that she didn't have to be admitted into the hospital. Brooke looked up at Aaron with tears in her eyes. "What's going on? What's wrong with her?" Aaron asked worriedly.
Good
I
God.
think Brooke should tell you. The
Can
doctor
anybody
said
guess what's going to
Why the
happen?
fuck is the doctor
This is the
there?
biggest twist since
Right.
we found out that Luke's got.
Why is the doctor there? Why didn't he just say, "You go on home, Brooke. Get the fuck out of my office and go tell your husband"?
No.
Why
Well,
are
he
they
want-
having this
he
little
wants to be
meeting in the
there.
office?
They want to be there together so they can all share the news.
This is like one of those public proposals. You know,
Right.
fuck. You don't
I
need to
think
involve
Brooke
the world.
should tell you. How stupid.
Brooke, what is it? Aaron asked.
Come on.
Brooke took Aaron's face in her hands and kissed him, then put her tear-soaked cheek against his and softly said in his ear, "You're gonna be a daddy."
Oh
Ew.
my god!
I bet you
Aaron
Lorne was
Schwartz.
crying when he wrote this.
For sure. Aaron's mouth dropped as he tilted his head back and looked into Brooke's eyes. His head back? Is she taller than him?
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
Wait a minute.
Oh dear! Oh
She's 6
dear!
feet tall.
She's 6 feet tall, exactly. "You're pregnant?" he asked as a smile began lighting up his face. "Yes," she said happily while wiping the tears from her cheeks.
Cheeks.
Aaron picked
They're
a Brooke
so
up.
shocked.
Oh, wait a second. Aaron picked a Brooke up off the floor.
She fell to the floor.
What is she
Because
doing
she
down there?
fainted. What the fuck is going on?
She's so overtaken with emotion that
He
she
said-
just fell to the floor.
I reckon
He
she
said,
slipped
"Get-"
on the floor because of all the damp.
Yeah.
This is his way of saying he picked her up. You know, this is his way of saying that she didn't fall. So
He literally said he
even
picked
then,
her up off the floor.
yeah. Well, her
No.
feet left the floor. Her feet left the floor. I was assuming.
No, he said, "Get out," and he pushed her. She fell. Exactly. And held her tight against him. He never felt so happy or complete in his life as he did at this moment. He wanted time to stand still as he held her. He turned to the doctor and asked, "How far along is she?" "She's about 6 weeks
Surprised
pregnant."
she didn't. I'm
can't
surprised she
talk
didn't
to
say
his
15 minutes.
Wife,
About 15
her
minutes.
about it.
The doctor is standing there.
Yeah, I know. He turned to the doctor. Yeah, Aaron turned to the doctor and said, "You still here?"
He can only talk to men. Men have to do this serious medical talk. Brooke's too much of an idiot. She doesn't understand any of this. Just like she's surprised. She's so shocked that she's pregnant. Like nobody knows what happens when you have unprotected sex. Why are they so shocked?
Yeah, I know. Give it to me straight, Doc.
Say it in English, Doc. Could you dumb it down a shade? Another human
Okay.
is going. No, still a
You've
little
got
too
what
far.
and where? The doctor explained to Aaron how a woman gets pregnant. Okay.
Well, why is Brooke on the floor and why is the doctor just standing there?
What the fuck is the doctor doing here? We're having
The doctor just standing there with his hands in his pocket, like, "Well, this is normal. This is what happens."
No,
She's about
the
6
doctor.
weeks
The
along.
doctor was standing around waiting for a tip.
Oh my gosh.
No, he's taking pictures of this happy moment for mom.
Right.
This is going to be one of the best parody movies of all time.
Is the baby all right?
This is what happened.
I think you're gonna have to take over reading duties, Amanda James.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ! This
Are
goes
you
right
okay,
to-
Tiff?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Oh,
No, you go. You do it. You do
Okay.
it. Okay.
Is the baby all right? Is there any precautions we have to take? Aaron asked. Baby is perfectly healthy as far as I can tell right now. In about another 3 months, if you both want to know, I'll be able to tell you more. Like the baby's health or whether it's a boy or a girl, the doctor explained. He can't tell more about the baby's health until 3 months from now?
I know. When I can't remember when I found out the sex of my daughter. I thought it was
About
early.
5 months. That's
It
about
was it
5
that
months.
long? Okay.
hmm
It's a boy or a girl. Okay.
Are you still conscious, Tiffany? Have you not just passed out on the
Yeah, I'm
floor?
good. No, I'm good. I just had to, this thing is so fucking stupid that, like, just in that moment, it just made me laugh. Once it starts, you have to work your way through it.
I understand. She was on the floor, and we have no
No,
Oh, you're going to
way.
start her off again now.
Then the doctor's useless here. He doesn't really offer any
That's what
Exactly.
I'm saying, Shin.
generic
I can't tell you
information.
anything now.
Yeah.
Come back in 3 months, and I'll tell you if your baby's okay. Thanks for nothing. Why are you still in here,
It's
doctor?
Dr. Nick, innit? Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, and why did it? You're right. I mean, the doctor went out to get him, right? And he didn't have to come back in. He could have just said, "Go talk to your wife."
Right.
Absolutely. He has
Either.
he's not, the baby's fine. There's no, like, there's nothing
Medical
else. There's
reason
no
for him to be there.
complications. Right. So there's literally no reason for the doctor to be in there at all.
Unless he's rooting her. Go ahead and kiss her now, Aaron. One of those
Took her off the
old-timey
floor.
things. Yeah. He's so fucking weird.
That's something we'll have to talk about, Brooke said as she smiled up at Aaron.
Up.
They thanked the doctor and walked hand in hand to the car. Aaron had called his mother from his cell phone in the car to see if she was home.
God.
Hello? His mother greeted after picking up the phone. Hi, Mom. Are you going to be home for a while? Aaron asked. Yes, I am. Are you coming over? She returned in question. Yes. We're in the car right now, so we'll be there soon, Aaron told her. Okay, see you when you get
What
here.
was the point of that fucking exchange?
I know. Why not just go to her fucking house? Why?
Okay, see you when you get here.
spend-
She hung up.
Right,
Fuck
or-
off.
Could you just spend like a couple minutes with your wife and celebrate this news? You have to go straight to your mother's house, you pussy.
Right.
Stop
Yeah.
it.
Stop with the mother shit.
Really. I would be so angry. I'd be like, we are not going to your fucking mother's house. No.
You're not my fucking mother.
I hate your mother.
Aaron clicked the end button on the cell phone.
Make a note of that, guys. That's really important.
She's going
Next
to
to
be
the
home.
on switch on the light switch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we'll head right over there and tell her she's going to be a grandmother again, Aaron said to Brooke. Brooke just smiled at him with a loving smile and squeezed his hand. When they arrived, Aaron's sister Kelly was there also. They walked in the house holding hands and was greeted by Aaron's mother. Kelly looked at Brooke and covered her mouth. Oh my God, you're pregnant.
What?
Aaron's mother's mouth dropped as she looked at Brooke and came to the realization that Kelly was right.
They're very fucking, they're very perceptive, aren't they?
Yeah.
She's 6 weeks along. She
Right.
didn't even know she was
Holding
pregnant. She
hands.
had to go to the fucking doctor to tell her that she was pregnant. Like, you don't know when you miss your own period. Brooke's
Right.
not very smart. She's
No.
really not.
Is Kelly like saying you're pregnant just by looking at her? She
I
doesn't.
Yeah.
think the idea is they've both got
Oh
a
my
smirk. They've both
God.
been to the hospital.
What if she
They're
wasn't
holding
pregnant? What if
hands.
she was just gaining weight?
That's what I'm saying. Kelly, that's rude to just blurt out you're pregnant. That could really hurt her feelings if it wasn't
Exactly.
true.
No, just
But
have
Kelly-
She
seen
not just said you're a little bit on the heavy set or whatever it is that Lorne
That's what I was
said.
gonna say. Yeah.
She is slightly overweight, and she's probably sensitive about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly's a real asshole. But Kelly's like Lorne's sister. When she knew immediately that Amanda James weren't real,
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
so Kelly has the same psychic ability,
Power.
apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a female thing too. Females are going to have this connection. You're automatically going to know if a woman is pregnant.
Yeah. You
We
send
can
off these
smell it.
pheromones or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Only
Exactly.
females can pick up.
Aaron's mother's mouth dropped as she looked at Brooke and came to the realization that Kelly was right. Oh my God, Brooke. She quickly reached for Brooke and hugged her tightly after pushing her son out of the way. Aaron was quick to see that he was not going to be acknowledged by the women for a while, so he decided to go in the kitchen and make a pot of coffee while his mother and sister guffawed over Brooke.
Guffawed.
What the fuck?
Guffawed?
What does that mean?
And
Guffawed?
I gotta look that up. I think it's a joke, isn't
yeah, no, well,
It's like a way of laughing? Like,
yeah.
it? Like snickering?
I'm impressed that
No.
Lorne's used a word that I've never heard of.
But he's not using it the right way. So to guffaw at something would be like, kind of like laugh in disbelief, I think. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
Somebody give us a definition in the.
Amanda James
It is
has
laughing.
done that.
Okay.
Was it?
No, I wonder if she looked it up. I didn't know she did.
no, I didn't look it up, so that could be incorrect. That's just, I guess, what I thought the word meant.
Okay, you're right though. It's a loud laugh. Boisterous.
Maybe he's just used to people doing that to him, so he knows what that word means.
They were just standing around cracking up.
Maybe retorting was. He couldn't get that out.
Jeez. Right, they guffawed over Brooke and the baby she was carrying. Aaron was happy to see his mother and sister making such a fuss over Brooke. He guessed that having the adult slumber party and making plans for the wedding must have brought them closer than what he had anticipated, because they had forgotten that Aaron was even there.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Brooke wanting to kiss Aaron goodbye when his mother and sister decided to take Brooke shopping for baby things,
What?
they would have left without even saying goodbye to him. Aaron smiled at Brooke and told her that he loved her and to have fun after she gave him a kiss.
Okay.
I get that you're excited. She just found out they're expecting their first baby, so they're excited, but they're immediately going to go baby shopping. They can't wait
It's
till
almost like
tomorrow.
the
or
females
something.
and males can't be in the same room.
Well, and it's traditionally
Like pot plants.
you don't go and like tell everybody
Right.
or do a lot of shopping until like you hit you're done with your first trimester.
Right.
Because
it's very early.
Yeah, you know, anything could happen, and then you're gonna have a bedroom full of baby clothes, and the pregnancy ended at 7 weeks or whatever. It's just very unrealistic.
Exactly. But again, Lorne doesn't know that.
Right.
So after the women left, Aaron turned the TV on and began watching the news. They talked about the war in Iraq and told about another suicide bombing that killed 23 Iraqi citizens and 2 United States military soldiers.
Athletically built suicide bombers.
The women were gone for quite some time because Aaron fell asleep on the couch with the TV still on and began dreaming about being back in Iraq. This time it was completely different because in his dream, he was holding his newborn baby with Brooke standing next to him. Hang on 1 second.
Oh, God.
The woman will go.
Okay.
We're actually getting a dream.
She had a black hood over her head and was on her knees with her hands tied behind her back. An insurgent was standing behind her with a gun to her head, and Aaron screamed no and woke up to the wails of a baby crying. He looked down at his hands and saw nothing, and then looked up at the TV to see the movie 3 Men and a Baby had come on, and that the baby was wailing that he had heard. And that was the baby wailing that he had heard. Aaron moved himself to the bathroom mirror to find that he was soaked in sweat. He turned the cold water on, cupped his hands together, and filled them with water. After splashing the cool water on his face, he looked at himself in the mirror again. Why would you have a ridiculous nightmare like that? He asked himself. He heard the sound of a car pulling in the driveway, so he knew the women were back from shopping. He quickly reached for a towel and dried the water from his face and went out to help the women bring all the new baby stuff they had bought. Brooke gave Aaron a kiss, then a hug, and felt that he was all sweaty. Are you all right? She asked in concern. Yeah, I just fell asleep on the couch while you were gone, and it got a little hot, he explained as he did his best to rid the concern that showed on her face. Aaron's mother came around to the side of the car, unaware of Brooke's concern about Aaron, and asked Aaron to help them bring the new things inside the house without looking at him. Once they finished unloading all the things from the car, Aaron sat down and began eating the meal that Brooke had bought him at Burger King, while the women sorted through the new baby things. Your mom and sister are coming over tomorrow to help me turn the guest room into a nursery, and I want you to be there with me, okay? Brooke asked him as she gently leaned over and gave him a persuading peck on the leg.
His family are very helpful, aren't they? You know.
Very imposing, it seems.
They don't waste any time either.
No, they don't.
They don't care to find out if the baby's a boy or a girl before they set up the nursery or buy anything.
Right.
And boy, does Aaron get kissed a lot.
Of course, she loves him. Loves him so much.
Nice move, he told her. How can he say no when you ask me like that? He asked her with a smile that told her he'd do anything she asked if it would make her happy. It wasn't long after that Josh called and wanted Kelly to come home. Aaron and Brooke had also decided to leave and go home too. Aaron gave his mother a hug and a kiss goodnight and headed to the car, leaving Brooke standing there discussing some things with his mother about the next day. After 10 minutes of waiting in the car, Brooke finally opened the door and got in.
What the fuck was that all about? Who the fuck? It's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I'm sorry it took me so long to get away from your mother, but she's so excited about the baby, Brooke said with a smile. It's all right, Aaron returned. I understand all about women and talking, he teased. Brooke slapped him playfully with a smile and kissed him on the cheek as he drove down the dark street toward home.
This is starting to piss me off.
Aaron was happy to finally be home after a long day at the doctor's, then at his mother's house. Even though he had taken a nap while the women were shopping, it was an exhausting nap because of the nightmare, and he was still tired. After unloading all the stuff from the car that his mother had bought for Brooke and the baby, Aaron and Brooke both retired to bed. It didn't take long for both of them to fall asleep. The night grew more and more still, and Aaron once again began to dream. Brooke's body was wrapped around him, and she woke up to the feel of his arm twitching back and forth. She became overwhelmed with concern as his body tensed up instantly, and she felt the cold sweat grow on him. She shook his shoulder and quietly called his name. Aaron. Aaron. Aaron snapped awake and sat up straight quickly. His breaths were deep and heavy as he looked straight ahead into the dark. Brooke sat up with him and ran her fingers through his hair. Are you all right? She asked him quietly. He took a deep breath and blew it out, relieved to find that he was in bed with Brooke and they were both safe. Yeah, I just had a bad dream, he replied as he slowly drew himself up to get out of bed. Do you want to talk about it? Brooke asked soothingly. No. Go back to bed. I'm going to take a quick shower and then I'll come back to bed. Okay, she replied. Aaron found his way through the dark to the bathroom and let the cold water splash over his sweat-filled body. After standing under the cold water for 10 minutes, he dried himself off and returned to bed with Brooke. Brooke let Aaron sleep in that morning. It was Sunday, and there was no need for him to get up early. She knew he had a hard time getting back to sleep after his nightmare, and she wanted to make sure that he got some good sleep to make up for what sleep he didn't get. At 11 o'clock, she finally went in and woke him up with French toast and orange juice. His mother and sister were to be there at 12 o'clock, so she needed for him to be up to help them with the nursery. He ate his French toast in bed and drank his orange juice, then got dressed and poured himself a cup of coffee. He stood in the doorway of what was going to be the nursery and smiled while he watched Brooke spreading out some rolls of wallpaper on the bed. She caught a glimpse of him staring
the longest
at him
chapter ever.
out of the corner of her eye.
This is torture.
What are you smiling at? She asked as she smiled back at him. You, he said as he walked up to her and kissed her on the lips. I love seeing you happy and content. It makes me happy. I'm happy because of you, Aaron, she replied.
Thank
and
you
I'm
for
happy
being born, Aaron.
because of you, he returned. Good. Then do me a favor and start taking this bed apart. After that's done, move it all to the basement along with the dresser and the nightstands. She threw him a sweet smile and a quick kiss on his lips and began removing the rolls of wallpaper off the bed. I should have known that was a trap, he said sarcastically. I love you, she said sweetly as she turned and walked out the door with her arms full of rolls of wallpaper. Aaron smiled, set his nearly empty coffee cup on the dresser, and began taking apart the queen-size bed. He had the bed almost completely apart when he heard a knock on the door, then Brooke reading his mother and sister. He continued on taking apart the bed, and his mother came in the room to see his progress. Hi, Aaron, she said happily. Hi, Mom. You realize I'm here today, huh? He said with a hidden smile. What do you mean? She said innocently. I mean, you forgot I was even at your house yesterday after you heard you were going to be a grandmother again, Aaron explained with a smile. Oh, you poor baby, she said sarcastically as she walked over and gave him a kiss on the head. There. Does that make you feel better?
People kiss
Aaron
this
let out
guy
a
a
chuckle
lot,
at
don't
her.
Aerodo, don't you go. If I have to listen to this, you do too.
Yeah, I agree.
Who talks like this?
This fucker.
Yes, thank you.
I need you, Aerodo.
I know. Good. Now hurry up and get this stuff out of here so we can get started on my new grandchild's nursery, she ordered. Wow, everyone's so bossy today, he laughed. Don't complain, just work, she said as she left the room with a smirk. It took Aaron until 1 p.m. to finish moving the parts to the bed, the dresser, and the nightstands down to the basement. Once he was out of the way, Brooke boxed up the extra clothes that was in the closet and had Aaron put them in the basement also. After Kelly vacuumed the light blue carpet, Aaron's mother brought the buckets of soap and water, and they began washing the walls. By 4:30 p.m., Brooke asked Aaron if he would go to the store and get the pizza they had ordered. He returned with 1 extra-large pizza, half Hawaiian, half pepperoni, and 2 2-liter bottles of Sprite and breadsticks.
Fucking hell.
Piece of shit. The ladies all took a break to eat and then went right back to work. While they were doing the nursery, Aaron was in the living room putting together the crib, playpen, baby swing, and the baby dresser. The women were all finished by 8 o'clock and finally allowed Aaron to enter the new nursery. Aaron walked in to what seemed like a completely different room than what he had been in earlier when he was taking apart the queen-size bed. Since the women started that afternoon, they had put up all new wallpaper that was a soft blue with thick pink outlines and little white bunny rabbits all over the place.
Holy shit.
Sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt. We don't know the sex of the baby, don't we not?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The curtains to the 2 windows in the room were pink with little white shelves.
Where the fuck is he seeing this shit in his mind?
To the 2 windows in the room were pink with little white shelves hung on the walls with baby decor on them. The only thing that Aaron had a problem with was the fumes that were still in the room from the glue on the wallpaper. So his pregnant wife is in this room with fumes, and he's just bothered by them, not concerned about, the fact that she's in there. She's been in there all afternoon.
Yeah, and why mention that? Like, what the fuck is
Right.
that to do with anything?
After reading this long-ass paragraph, I could see right away how he became a serial killer. I got it now. I got it.
It's the best
The
insight
connection's
we've had
made.
so far.
Jesus Christ.
Aaron,
That's the question I keep asking throughout the whole book. Why mention that? Why are we talking about that?
Yeah. Aaron congratulated the women on the nice job they did as he opened the 2 windows to air the fumes out of the room. They were obviously too stupid to do that, I guess. The ladies had been in the fumes all afternoon, so they didn't even notice how strong they were. Aaron thought it was odd earlier that afternoon when he heard all three of the women start giggling and didn't stop for about 30 minutes. Kelly helped Aaron carry in the crib, playpen,
Are they
baby
high?
swing, and baby dresser, and Brooke directed them where to place them.
This is the second day of finding out she's pregnant, right? This is the second day?
Mm-hmm.
So
but they're high from the glue fumes. And he's like, oh, that's why they're giggling. That's not
For
safe.
30 minutes?
They were giggling for 30 minutes straight. And he's like, oh, that's why.
like hens clucking, It's like,
Aaron sounds a lot like Lorne.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't sure about their exact locations at that moment, but she could always rearrange them when she wanted to. It didn't take long for Kelly and Aaron's mother left It didn't take long after Kelly and Aaron's mother left for Brooke to fall fast asleep on the couch. Aaron picked her up in his arms, carried her into the bedroom, carefully laying her down in the bed. He then returned to the kitchen and turned out the light, then closed the windows in the new nursery. He stopped on the way out the door and looked at the welcoming room and smiled before turning off the light and retreating to bed himself. He removed his clothes and climbed into bed and pulled Brooke into his arms. He was happy, of course.
Naked?
Yes.
No pajamas.
He felt very complete with Brooke in his arms and couldn't picture himself ever being unhappy. He absorbed the comfort she gave him and fell asleep with a light smile on his face.
Well,
Andrew.
thank you very much, Tiffany, for reading.
Yeah,
all that.
I gotta say, but
that was a because us listening to you read it was fucking painful. So it must have been even harder to get through that.
Absolutely.
Sucks.
This was exactly what you said. This is him ruminating in prison, and him going to his happy place. That's what this is. As descriptive as it is, it was in his mind. Tiffany, I can't thank you enough. I don't think I could have done that without you. I know I couldn't.
You mean you couldn't have listened to her do it without her?
I don't know whether I was bored, angry at the same. I've never been bored and angry at the same time. It's a weird emotion. But it was just you did an awesome job, Tiffany.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Amanda James, as well, for helping me in my time of need.
Fill in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be you women, you know. The females have got to do the work.
Yeah.
The females have to do the reading
together.
That's right.
We're going to have a sleepover tonight.
Actually. Yeah, we are.
Talk about you guys. How much we love you.
I think that,
we're going to laugh for 30 minutes because we're going to sniff wallpaper glue.
Sorts of crazy fumes.
Right, the sniffing glue.
Right.
Just to hurt our unborn babies.
No.
Just a few observations about, because this is pointless, this last bit, but I think in Lorne's bizarre way, he's just trying to explain how content, Aaron is at this point. He's got everything he wants. He's got this idealistic, life where everybody does everything for him and his missus adores him, but there's no dynamics between them. But what I will say, a lot has happened in this chapter, hasn't it?
A lot.
But none of it exciting, none of it unexpected, none of it with any charm, wit, intelligence. It's pretty bad.
He's just trying to give off, impressions of who he is through this. That's what this whole thing is. And it's funny because if you compare it to the chat log, the two diametrically opposite pieces of literature. It's funny. One is him trying to be good for everybody, and one is him just being let off in the wild, who he really is.
That's a great comparison, that dude. That's exactly true. This is who Lorne wants us to think he is, but the chat log is who Lorne actually is.
Who he is.
Well, and how he wants other people to look at him and treat him. Like the whole they went immediately to his mother's house to tell her that they were pregnant. She didn't bother to call anybody, not a friend, not her own mother, no one. It was all just about him and his family. But the way that they all the women shoved him aside and all gathered up and loved Brooke and were giving all the attention to Brooke. I feel like he wants his mother and his family to be really close to his girlfriend or
that's a no-brainer.
Definitely.
Of course,
because then she will be tied to him even tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you leave me? My mother loves you.
But he likes it when it happens on its own without him pushing it. This is his perfect world here, where it just naturally happens.
He says that to his girlfriend. My mom's gonna love you. She's gonna be the best mom in the world. She's gonna love you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you what a real family is like. He wants that because it's like a form of trapping her.
Yeah.
I think so, at least. Like,
he
thinks she's in his clutches more.
And he shreds up the other person's mother a lot too. Like you just because you didn't have a great mother like mine. Well, my mother will love you. Same here. He did the same thing with Brooke. He kind of intimated that she had a family, but for some reason, this was kind of healing her
You've
from
just
that.
made me realise. Sorry if I've missed this. Did we get told anything about Brooks' family?
No, all that she mentioned
They're all in prison.
was all that she mentioned was she said something to the effect of, because of my family, I'm so happy that
Right.
I get to be with your mom, and she,
Mhm.
you know, she's
Love.
so welcoming. You're right,
Yeah.
exactly. There's the love,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what Lorne wants. Every single thing that he does in this book in reference to a relationship, it's all
He does it
very
with catfish.
cliche. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with reality. None of these conversations would ever happen. None of these interactions make any kind of sense. I mean, if you saw this on a Hallmark movie, you would roll your eyes and be like, what the fuck? I mean,
So
because
what the
that
hell's
is
the-
even beyond
Yeah.
what would be there. You know, it's,
Well,
it's
look at
all
the-
so ridiculous.
Look at the interaction about the pancakes. She made his pancakes, and he quickly ate them because they were so delicious. They were even better than his mom can make. Can you believe it or not? And
Yeah.
then she comes over with her plate, and she's pouting. I wanted you to wait to eat with me. Who gives a shit? Just eat. Like, what was the point of that whole exchange between the two of them? Except for, like, Lawrence in prison and is just fantasizing about having
Right.
a girlfriend or a wife.
Right. That
And
he went to his
maybe
happy
these
place.
are the kind of things they would talk
Yeah.
about. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This.
But it's
this
so incredibly unrealistic. Like, people have real things to talk about, so they don't playfully bicker over pancakes at the breakfast table. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very
Yeah, they're not-
childish way of looking.
They're
at
not
things.
talking about anything important at all.
Right.
Yeah. No, like his mental health.
Yeah,
You
Sure.
know?
Or
That's kind of a
even
big
just other stuff. I don't know, just things that are more important about them. You know, there's no complications in their relationship. Everything is fairy tale and perfect.
Mhm.
And, you know, obviously things are starting to brew with Aaron, but everything
Really?
is just perfect. Yeah.
You really? You really? I mean, he had a
I'm
nightmare
taking a
or two?
leap. I'm taking a leap. Yeah, things are starting to go really bad because he's done nothing for his mental health since he's gotten back. He just resumed life as normal.
Well, that would explain it, but the way the author's talking about it, it's like the two nightmares is enough for you to think, okay, next step, serial killer.
It's just such an afterthought. Like, he'll spend so much time talking about the baby and his mom, or not the baby, but how happy his family is about the pregnancy or the wedding or food or whatever bullshit he's talking about. And then it's kind of like he's like, oh yeah, I need to, like, get this shit moving. Aaron needs to be crazy, so I'm going to add in a nightmare or two.
Yeah.
It's just this little afterthought, and he doesn't put any, like, focus on expanding on that, which should be like a central part to the story.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like he's writing a book and he's forgot to actually write a book, if that makes any sense. So he's just going through the motions, but he's not doing what's required to write a novel. Nothing that you know, he gets everything back to front, unnecessary scenes, unnecessary dialogue, but dialogue where we need it doesn't happen. Scenes that we need to see don't happen. Details that we need don't happen. It's like everything is wrong with it. Everything.
Well, it's important to focus on what details he's focusing on, you know, even though they're not important to us. For some reason, they're important to him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And-
Well,
and I
that's why
think
we're
that-
doing this, isn't it? We're trying to, like Amanda James said, we're not going to get any crazy, you know, revelations, I don't think. But it is interesting to confirm what we already know about him, and how it's interesting how he can write a book and not realize how much of a mirror it is to how he thinks. It's quite remarkable that he has, because he's got such this lack of introspection, that even he can't see that he's writing his life up there. That's kind of interesting. It's his lack of awareness.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said earlier, you know, when we were talking about his food and how he was daydreaming in his prison cell about all the foods he wanted, the Reese's squares and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. I think this is just a journal of his daydreams in prison.
I agree with that. All the interactions between him and Brooke and his mom. It's like it's a throuple. It's like a threesome relationship.
Right. There's everything's the details that he's focusing on, and the reason why is because those little things, he fantasizes about. So and when he's trying to get out of this hell that he's in, and he's just decided, just writing down what's in his mind and trying to escape everything. That's the stuff he's thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what this is. I think this is a prison daydream journal.
NWA Skeptic put it best. Each chapter is like a synopsis of each chapter. No details, no dialogue. So it's a great way of putting it. It's like, it's like we've said this, haven't we, Tiffany? If we were going to write a book, fuck me, we're not authors. We don't have a fucking clue. It's like a part of me admires him for even giving it a try. But when you start to read it, any kind of admiration that you may have disappears because it's minimal effort, minimal insight, minimal respect for the subject matters. Because you are. I don't want to beat him over the head with it unnecessarily, but you are talking about something that's incredibly sensitive to a lot of people for good reason, especially in the day and age that we live in now. I know even back then, not taking into account what's happened in recent events, but these things affect people's lives massively. There's nothing more prominent in the world than war and losing people. The people and to just go about this in such a way, but he feels like he's respecting the subject matter. He put what was his charity thingamajig going to? What was the wounded? What was it?
The Wounded Warrior Project.
Right. And that is So he believes. It's interesting to me as well, and it was something I was thinking about. How we always say that Lorne's the hero of his own story, which of course everybody is. When you look into it, everybody is the hero of their own story. Everybody considers himself a good person. It's amazing what Lorne thinks of himself but yet can't see the realities of that chat log. It's like we all do things we're not proud of, don't we? But the extreme lengths that he went to, but yet he writes this. He's this Aaron fella who loves everybody and everybody kisses him and everything works out rosy, and he's got this romantic side of him. He makes women damp themselves and all this kind of stuff. But yet the reality of it is the worst romantic in the world. He's disgusting. He's a sex offender. He targets children. He scams old ladies.
That's it. That's all.
He goes after vulnerable, disadvantaged. It just.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
I think those are the worst qualities that a person could have. Those are the worst 4 or 5 qualities on the bottom. I'm starting to think.
I'd like to know what. Sorry, Shem.
Sorry, no, please.
Oh, I totally interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, I had nothing.
Okay.
Someone speak. Come on.
Okay, I'll do it. I wonder what Lauren's mom thought while she was reading this.
Probably
I wonder if she was just rolling her eyes like, oh, God. Fucking Lorne.
I don't think anybody read
the sleepover. You don't think so?
I don't think anybody did, especially the editors.
Well, I think they may have read it just to humor him. I think really the only thing that she would have to say positive about this is that he was using his time while he was in there. He doesn't have really any other option. Yeah. So at least, because obviously going there, just from Lauren's perspective, is going to be something incredibly traumatic. He is depressed. He's already expressed that. She's going to be aware of that as well. And so now him doing this would maybe represent that he's starting to get past it and is just biding his time until he leaves.
Yeah, but big thing is that he thought this was going to catapult him into the literature world.
Well, that's what makes it funny, is because he looks at you can just read the first couple of pages that don't even have to do with the story, just the dedication itself, talking about his mom, Those things, we did a whole stream on it. I mean, that is just how
Right.
Lorne those things are. And he really, and the fact too, not only did he write those, but in his hearing that you guys went to, he mentions it as this virtuous thing that he did, that he is willing to donate the 50% of the profits. I mean, I can hear him saying it because he says the whole thing. He says the same thing all the time. But, you know, the fact that he is going to be giving that. And I wish that the judge would have asked, well, how much was donated?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, Lorne would have had to say 0 because that's exactly how much money this book made. But it's ridiculous that, you know, he has this idea of himself that I think he really did see this. Not just that, you know, this was a great story itself, but he believed that it represented, well, somebody's going to read it. Somebody's going to buy it. I'm going to, you know, this is going to be on booksamillion.com that no one has ever heard of in their lives ever until this. And he's thinking that this is where people go to, just like a Barnes and Noble, that it's going to be out there and people are going to say, oh, wow, look at this cover. Look at this young man. He obviously has something to hide. He's there in the shadows. And, you know, who doesn't love a coming home for more story, you know?
Written by someone who has no idea what they're talking about.
No idea.
I think that, you know, Lorne doesn't do anything for someone unless he is going to get something out of it.
100%. Yes.
Or thinks he will. So when he puts the Wounded Warrior Project in there, I think what he's doing is he's recognizing there may be military people who read this, and maybe they'll cut him some slack on some of his military issues because they're getting money or something like that. Or, like Tiffany said, he wants to be able to, you know, mitigate his other side of ugliness to a judge or somebody. You know, this is what I do.
Yeah, he does. I mean, because in that donation, he says something like, this author encourages you to give back.
That's so bad. Oh.
Yeah.
This author is such a mouthful.
Yeah, that's putting it. Can I just mention Wayne Tech Tenor said, so, Erin, how is your sex life?
Right.
We should
invent the room in case anybody didn't know.
We should create an award, like a literary award.
And Amanda James should give it to Lorne personally.
Yeah.
Well, but not for the chat log. We'd give it to him for the chat log. That
he thinks he's getting it for the book, but it's really for the chat log.
That's a great idea, Shit. It'd be like the 2021 Literary Award of the Year goes to Lorne Armstrong. I've finally been recognized. Here it is, 407 pages of this.
Sorry, it took 14 years to get, but.
And then Chris Hansen walks out again because he has a few more questions.
Yes. This is like a phone book.
No, how is that appropriate?
Yeah, poor Lorne.
Anyway, he put himself out there with this thing, and we have
it's a book that anybody can. Could you actually still get a copy of this if you wanted?
You got to know somebody.
The Good and New Awards.
I don't know if you can still get it on the website. I think people have tried to, but maybe they were having problems actually finding it.
Yeah, I don't think that I tried. I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It's not on Amazon or anything? Okay.
No.
Okay. So,
I guess you have to find one of those, like, machines, and then you can print it or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It sounds like a jukebox.
Well, it's like the red box for movies, but this is going to be for books. I don't know.
I've never seen
one. No, I haven't either.
So, how many chapters do we have? 12.
There's 12. Yeah, we just finished 7. And
so we got 5 to go.
And I think,
could they be any worse? Seriously.
I mean, I think they could be.
Yeah.
So we'll have to find out. Yeah. I mean, but I know that was pretty bad. That was really hard to get through.
Do you know what's ironic? So much happened in the context of that story. We actually get some details on his psychological problems for the first time. really. Well, apart from the Paul kind of vision, we get them getting it on for the first time. We get the sex scene. We get the romantic liaisons between the two of them, although it's not really, it's not really going anywhere. We get the moving house. We get her getting pregnant. There's a lot that goes on there, but yet it was the worst, most boring chapter. How is that even possible?
We had the sex too.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the most happens in that chapter, and it was the fucking hardest to get through. It was terrible.
Yeah, it just dragged. It was way too much all in one.
It started out with such promise, and then it just bored you to death. And Tiffany, thank you so much again.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. It's not because the thing is as well. I've noticed you stumbled a lot on his words because he writes in such a way it's difficult to actually read it properly.
Yeah, no, it is. It is difficult just to read it through, because his wording, the way his word sequencing isn't always what you think it's going to be.
Ends with propositions.
You're reading it.
Well, that's why you stumble, isn't it? Because you're expecting it to be written a certain way, and it ends up being written in total nonsense.
Exactly, yeah. So
you know how he has his favorite phrases, like he has his favorite words. He says anxious a lot, and there's other examples too. But
retort.
What I picked up in this chapter, right? He kept saying "seems as though" or "seems as how you know that." You guys know what I'm talking about?
Or I'm guessing
that phrase over and over again.
I'm surprised he didn't use evidently.
Evidently.
Unless he picked that up later on.
Yeah, he could have. I've never heard somebody say that.
That's a good point. We didn't even get the word anxious once.
Oh, we did.
We did.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
anxious
about
and
their
nervous.
wedding.
On his first date before he had his
No,
popcorn.
I'm talking about in that chapter.
No,
we did.
Yeah, their wedding date was coming closer. It was approaching, and they were getting more anxious. And more nervous.
I tell you what, that's some good memory. That well done.
Yeah, and then Brooke fell on the ground while her doctor looked on.
Doc, what the fuck are you doing?
All the talk of the wedding was just flushed down the toilet when they discovered they were having a baby.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about the wedding at all anymore. Now it's all on to planning.
It's like they bought literally everything for the baby. The entire room is all set up, all the furniture in one day.
The wallpaper. Yeah, they did the whole nursery in one day. She found out she was pregnant the day before. They don't even know the gender of the baby. This little baby boy is going to be in a nursery with little pink bunnies on it or whatever he said.
It's disturbing to think he was thinking about shit like that in prison. Making up a little kid's room.
And it's weird too that Aaron's job was a mechanic at a school bus garage.
Someone just mentioned that. I think it was Rhoda Tutsi said he works in a school. Because I was kind of listing off the kind of things that he thinks of himself. It doesn't even touch upon him that's, but obviously he doesn't really, he's too stupid to see himself as Aaron, but it's just, I don't, it's fucking remarkable.
But we also get no talk of his job.
No talk of anything. The money, where's the money coming from the wedding? Who's paying for it? Where's it going to take place?
What I'd like to know.
Who's being the best man?
He's got a job yet.
He does. Yes, he works at the school bus garage as a mechanic. But for all the baby stuff, his mom bought everything.
What does that look like? Is that a place on school grounds? Is that?
No, I think usually they have a company.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
In the a central location where all of them are at.
Okay.
Well,
interesting
that
he chose that specific
That's a good
occupation.
Point. Mom bought all the baby stuff. Mom must be paying for the wedding.
Yeah.
Brooke can have whatever she wants. Whatever you want, Brooke, you can have it. Don't worry. You're not paying the bill, Aaron. So.
Or washing the dishes.
Be considerate of your mom here.
Does not lift a finger at all. That drives me crazy.
Me too.
Just the sense of entitlement of not having to.
It's not
the
so much that.
expectation.
It's how he described the women folk as not only being okay with it, but expecting it and loving it. You just sit back there, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I couldn't lift a finger if I wanted to.
There was one part where I think it was before he proposed to Brooke, and maybe somehow knew that he was going to be spending the night at her house for the first time. I don't know. But he told his mom, don't bother making me anything for breakfast. Because, like, basically I won't be home. Why is your... You know, like, why is your mother why is that?
Right, exactly.
Like, cook your own fucking breakfast. I don't care what you do.
Well, that was the morning that he was going to see his little brother. So he was going to leave early to do that. So yeah, don't worry about me. I'll feed myself this time.
Yeah.
And
just have lunch ready for dinner when I get back.
Right. Right, exactly. That's silly.
We're gonna have to. I'm getting a bit tired. Rest I need. So yeah. Okay. But it's been fun, but it's been a bit of graft. Of course, it has been for Tiffany more than us, but even us listening, it's been hard. And
that chapter pissed me off.
We thought you were gonna love it, Shin.
I know. You were so excited. You were anxious to hear it.
I was anxious.
Yeah.
It was just oh.
Joker to put a great comment. He said, "Thank you for this chat is dedicated to the electromagnetic radiation from in the Higgs boson particle because without you, the world would be a worse place to live." It's like bit of an equivalent to Lorne's "Thank you for being born" comment, which is
exactly.
I mean, there's been some the one-liners. We're gonna have to make a list when we're all done. About the quality lines, like you've got the "thanks for being born," expelling damp, and you're going to be a daddy, and or Paul.
I'm happy
even
because
just one
you.
word, like
Yeah.
Guffawed, yeah. Ha, you're pregnant.
I love you. I love you too. How often does that? I'm getting annoyed. Right, okay. Yeah. Thanks everybody in the chat for going through it with us.
He had no issues with his internet.
I know. We've still got time. Before.
Well, because he changed his internet provider.
I haven't actually, despite the recommendations.
Finally,
I'm still with. A group of cowboys came in a truck and white truck and fitted my internet for me. It's not been the same since.
Cowboys?
Yeah, if you guys got any suggestions about internet providers, put them in the comments.
About the comments, just so you guys know, when you're listening to this and it isn't live, last week for some reason, the comments weren't appearing in the video. I don't know why. I had to approve every single comment, which was weird. I don't understand. You were quite upset in the week, weren't you? She's like, no fucking piece of shit's commented on our video. It's like,
yeah, I
don't know.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. Like, so guys, there's going to spur a lot of comments, so please do, and I'll keep my eye on.
I thought it was a conspiracy.
Yeah, well, that's what we're thinking, because I think someone's channel went down, and we're getting a bit worried that whoever it is might be coming for us, but because it's happened before. But we'll, I
probably
think
a YouTube thing.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so guys, please leave any comments. Thanks so much for joining us. I had quite a lot of people in the chat today, probably because of the subject matter, of course. I hope that you've enjoyed it, despite it being...
Totally disappointed you guys with that. You held it out as a good sex chapter, and it turned out it was bad.
It was still worth doing.
It was expected to be, though. Lorne wrote it.
Yeah.
It was clickbait,
didn't
Andrew.
make you expel any dampness?
Thanks,
Not
Andrew.
exactly.
Yeah, but guys, my friends here, I'm eternally grateful, because I wouldn't be doing this on my own. So thanks, guys, for joining me, and thanks for everybody in the chat. Depending on we'll see about next week. I'm not quite sure. But so we may have to take another week break, but we'll see. But guys, thank you so much. Please leave any comments, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.